Chapter 2487. 9 cauldrons showing their might. On the other side of the wasteland, there was also a road. It kept going forward, and no one knew where it led. Lu Ming did not hesitate and stepped on the road. He was much more confident now. With the help of the divine 9-dragon cauldron, he was not afraid even if he encountered a peak heavenly emperor. Now, the only threats to Lu Ming were the unrivaled powerhouses and the martial arts god. However, there were too few of them. The only martial gods left were the non-human divine ancestor and the ancestral dragon. There were not many martial emperor powerhouses either. For example, both the primal chaos god monarch and the undying god monarch had fallen. There were not many people like him in both the heaven realm and the evil god realm who were half a step into the martial god realm. According to what Lu Ming knew, this time around, neither the heaven realm nor the evil god tribe had such people come in and were guarding outside. Of course, this was only on the surface. Lu Ming was not sure if there were such people in the dark. He continued to advance, but the path he took after that was completely devoid of danger. It was calm and peaceful. Lu Ming had advanced at least a few thousand miles. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. Although the castle looked huge from the outside, it was not that exaggerated. After entering, he realized that the space inside was shockingly large. Space technology was probably used. After a few thousand miles, the road became narrower, and only a few people could walk side by side. After traveling another 1,000 miles, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. A door had appeared in front of him. It was the end. Lu Ming strode forward, using the divine 9-dragon cauldron to protect himself, and rushed into the door. Behind the door was a vast hall. The hall was filled with brilliant light. Lu Ming was stunned when he saw it. The source of the light in the hall was a ball of light. In the hall, there were balls of light. Each ball of light was dazzling, and there was a treasure in each ball of light. Yes, it was a treasure. Most of them were combat weapons. There were also some storage rings and bracelets. All of them were treasures, and there were hundreds of them. Ha ha ha, I'm rich. Lu Ming was ecstatic. He then flew up and grabbed a ball of light. Buzz! However, when Lu Ming approached the ball of light seemed to have a mind of its own and flew away. Don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming chuckled. His muscles trembled and his body burst out. The way of the master condensed into a big hand and grabbed at the ball of light. This time, the ball of light could not fly away and was caught in Lu Ming's hands. However, after grabbing the ball of light, Lu Ming did not take out the combat weapon inside because it was blocked. The ball of light seemed to be formed by the array on it. It would not be easy to take out the treasure inside. Refine. Lu Ming released his nominator's power and began to refine the ball of light. Fortunately, the defensive power of the ball of light was not that strong. After a few minutes, Lu Ming had refined it. A long spear-like combat weapon fell into Lu Ming's hands. It's only equivalent to a great emperor weapon. Lu Ming took a look and was a little disappointed. This long spear was only equivalent to a great emperor weapon. It was not of much use to Lu Ming. However, it was not a bad idea to bring it out for others to use. Lu Ming kept it. Next, Lu Ming grabbed another ball of light. This ball of light was also a combat weapon, a combat sword. After Lu Ming caught it, he refined it for a few minutes before he took out his combat sword. They're equivalent to Heaven Dao soldiers. This time, Lu Ming was overjoyed. This combat sword was actually equivalent to a Heaven Dao soldier. It was filled with layers of strange arrays. Lu Ming injected energy into it and waved the combat sword, unleashing a shocking power. Weapons that were equivalent to the Heaven Dao soldiers were priceless. Lu Ming had not obtained many of them so far. Even if Lu Ming did not use it himself, he could bring it out and give it to the celestial arch in the heaven realm to use. It could greatly improve the combat power in the heaven realm. After obtaining a Heaven Dao soldier-level combat weapon, Lu Ming's heart burned with passion. He continued to grab other orbs of light. Next, Lu Ming caught dozens of light orbs in succession. However, there weren't many heaven soldiers. There were 5 of them among the 30 light balls, and the rest were all Emperor-level weapons. In addition, the storage rings and bracelets were all made up of divine stones. A large number of godstones. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He had really struck it rich this time. There were more than 30 light orbs and 5 weapons of the heavenly Dao soldier level. Lu Ming was already very satisfied. There were a few hundred balls of light here, so wouldn't there be a few dozen heaven Dao soldier level weapons? If word of this got out, it would scare people to death. Also, with a large number of divine stones, Lu Ming would not have to worry about resources for a long time. Lu Ming was even more excited to collect the light orbs. At this moment, in another direction of the hall, dozens of figures flickered and rushed in from behind a door. The evil god race. They were all from the evil god race that Lu Ming had encountered previously. It seemed that after so much effort, these foreign races had finally opened up the path on the left, and the 2 paths on the left and right led to this hall. The moment these evil god race members saw the balls of light in the hall, their eyes shone with a fiery light. The moment they saw Lu Ming, their fiery glow turned into a cold killing intent. It's Lu Ming. Damn it, he's not dead. The 6-star heavenly emperor of the foreign race roared. Lu Ming entered the path on the right. He did not die and had entered this place earlier than them. They were extremely puzzled. However, they did not think much about it now because they saw Lu Ming collecting the treasures. Their eyes were red. They had worked hard for a few months, and in their eyes, these treasures were all theirs. Kill him. The 6-star celestial arch of the alien race shouted coldly. He held his saber and took the lead in attacking Lu Ming. The cold gleam of the blade slashed at Lu Ming. At the same time, the other alien races also attacked Lu Ming, trying to kill him. I was going to find you after I collected all these treasures. Now that you've come here, I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming said indifferently. With a single thought, the 9 divine 9-dragon cauldrons flew out. Buzz! The divine 9-dragon cauldron trembled and emitted a terrifying aura, which pressed down on the dozens of alien races. Not good. Feeling the power of the divine 9-dragon cauldron, the 6-star heavenly emperor realm alien was shocked. He unleashed his full power and turned his attack into a defense. However, the other alien races didn't react as quickly. Boom! When the divine 9-dragon cauldron came crashing down, the bodies of the foreign kinds with weaker cultivation bases exploded. Even a 5-star heavenly emperor was torn apart by the vast power of the divine 9-dragon cauldron and died on the spot. Only the 6-star heavenly emperor did not die, but he was seriously injured and retreated while spitting out blood. The divine 9-dragon cauldron's power was equivalent to a peak great emperor's power. How could these non-humans block it? Run! The non-human 6-star heavenly emperor turned around and fled without thinking. But it was too late. The 9 cauldrons expanded rapidly and suppressed all directions, shrouding him within. No! The alien roared and slashed out with his saber, sending out hundreds of saber lights. Chapter 2488 Great Harvest. This alien was indeed very strong. He had the cultivation base of a 6-star heavenly emperor, and the saber in his hand was also a heavenly Dao soldier. However, the divine 9-dragon cauldron was no ordinary heaven Dao soldier. The ancestral dragon had told Lu Ming before that the divine 9-dragon cauldron was refined by the ancestral dragon for the 9 dragons. It had taken both the ancestral dragon and the 9 dragons' painstaking efforts. In the end, the 9 dragons had used it to suppress the passage. It was no trivial matter, and its power was far beyond that of an ordinary heaven Dao soldier. In fact, it had already surpassed the category of heaven Dao soldiers. Clang! 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 The 6-star celestial thearch saber kept hitting the divine 9-dragon cauldron, causing sparks to fly and the cauldron to shake. However, every time he collided with the divine nine-dragon cauldron, the six-star heavenly emperor's body would shake. A powerful force blasted toward him, causing him to suffer heavy injuries. After hundreds of collisions, pfft! The other party spat out a large mouthful of blood. Cracks appeared on his body, and fresh blood seeped out. Lu Ming, this time, our clan's divine ancestor and the murderous heart divine ancestor will definitely recover to their peak. At that time, the heaven realm will be destroyed, and you will die without a burial place. The foreign celestial the arch roared. Console yourself and go on your way. Lu Ming said coldly. He tried his best to control the divine nine-dragon cauldron and bombarded it one after another. In the end, the six-star heavenly emperor couldn't hold on any longer. His body cracked and then exploded, and his body and spirit were destroyed. With a wave of his hand, he kept the alien storage bracelet. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to collect the treasures. Instead, he rushed toward the passageway that the alien had just come in from. He would first kill all the alien races and then collect the treasures. When they arrived at the passage, they saw blood-red true dragons wandering around. However, their numbers were much fewer than the ones on the right, and none of them were too strong. It was no wonder that the foreign races were able to rush over. Lu Ming did not hold back. He controlled the divine nine-dragon cauldron and devoured all the blood-red true dragons. He followed the path and walked outside. Indeed, there were some alien races guarding the place. They had all been killed by Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming returned to the hall and began to collect the light orbs. After spending a few days, Lu Ming finally put away all the treasures in the light orbs. There were 35 Heaven Dao soldier-level weapons and the rest were emperor-level weapons. There were also a large number of divine stones. Lu Ming did not count them as they would be enough for a while. Especially the 35 Heaven Dao soldier-grade treasures. If he brought them out, it would probably cause a huge commotion. Although this netherworld mountain is dangerous, it also comes with opportunities. Lu Ming sighed. I wonder how little Qing, Bubbles, Dandan, and Feng Ling are doing. Lu Ming thought of Xian Yanqing and the rest. He could not help but feel worried. This Yellow Springs world could be said to be extremely dangerous. Not only did they have to face the alien races, but they also had to face the experts of the Yellow Springs world. If they were not careful, they would be in danger of dying. Xian Yanqing and Dandan were both at the Heavenly Emperor realm. As for Bubbles, Long Chen, Feng Ling, and the others, their cultivation levels were still low. There were also his two disciples. If they were to encounter the other party's Heavenly Emperor, they would probably be in danger. All of this would depend on luck. The vast netherworld mountain was huge and boundless. It was as big as the 9 heaven domains of the heaven realm combined. There were hundreds of forces in the various countries. In addition, there were also large areas of wilderness. There were many wilderness areas that were inaccessible to humans, but there were also cursed lands. There was a huge lake. The water in the lake was pitch black, and it emitted a shocking demonic qi. A figure suddenly appeared here. It was Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing's lips curled into a smile. He stepped into the lake and disappeared. In another place, in the middle of the mountain range, a mountain range suddenly split open. Gravel flew everywhere, and smoke and dust filled the air. When the dust settled, a huge tomb appeared in the direction of the crack in the mountain range. It was extremely huge and exuded a vast pressure. A figure rushed out from the rubble. Ha ha ha, I knew there would be a huge tomb here. The treasures in this tomb will be mine. The figure laughed and rushed into the tomb. In another direction, there was a strange terrain. The ground here was filled with passages that were connected to each other like a beehive. 2 figures appeared at the entrance of a tunnel. The 2 figures were Lu Ming's 2 disciples, Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli. I didn't expect that there would be a cursed land in this barren mountain. Senior sister, should we go down and explore? Ouyang Moli asked. The 2 of them were lucky. They didn't expect to meet each other not long after entering Netherworld Mountain. Since we're here, of course we have to go in, Lu Xiangxiang said. Hoo-hoo. At this moment, a strong wind suddenly blew in the honeycomb-like caves, and a terrifying suction force gushed out. Not good. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were about to escape, but it was too late. They were swept into the cave by the force. In other places, many people had their own fortuitous encounters and entered some wondrous places. The people of Netherworld Mountain could not enter these places. For example, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others had met the top experts of the Heaven Realm. They had explored a few cursed lands with them. Of course, there were also those who were unlucky and met with alien races, and were killed by them. Or, they were killed by the local experts of Netherworld Mountain. Of course, there were also alien races who were killed by the Heaven Realm experts. Lu Ming, for example, had killed many alien races after entering Netherworld Mountain. After Lu Ming kept all the treasures, he strolled around the hall. There were a few large doors in the hall. There were 2 large doors. They were the doors that Lu Ming and the rest had entered from. Lu Ming explored the rest one by one. However, these doors led to other side halls, and there was nothing to gain from those side halls. Very soon, there was only the last door left that Lu Ming had not explored. Lu Ming walked in. He went through many passages and arrived at a small hall. This hall was also empty, with only a statue. Lu Ming's eyes lit up at the sight of the statue. This was because this statue was exactly the same as the statue that Lu Ming had seen in the legacy site in the country of Fengming. Furthermore, this statue also exuded a ruler's will that was many times stronger than the one in the country of Fengming. Could it be that there's a statue like this in every cursed land? Lu Ming's eyes were burning with passion. To Lu Ming, the nominator's intent on the statue was more precious than anything else. It would allow Lu Ming's understanding of the way of the master to deepen rapidly. Comprehension. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in front of the statue and began to comprehend. Lu Ming circulated the path of domination and resonated with the statue. The statue emitted a strong domineering aura that enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming began to study it carefully. The ruler's will on this statue was much stronger than the one in the country of Fengming, so it would take much more time to comprehend it. Lu Ming spent 2 years in comprehension. Chapter 2489 Searching for the Cursed Land in 2 years' time, Lu Ming had completely comprehended the will of domination on the statue. Lu Ming's understanding of the path of domination had improved greatly. However, Lu Ming felt that he was still a little short of breaking through to 5 stars Great Emperor. Although the sovereign intent on this statue was very strong, even stronger than the one in the country of Fengming, it was still very strong. However, as one's cultivation level increased, every breakthrough would be more difficult and the requirements would be higher. When the ruler's intent on the statue was completely comprehended, the statue cracked like the one in the country of Fengming. It was covered in cracks, and finally exploded with a bang. It exploded. Lu Ming was filled with anticipation and ran up to take a look. In the country of Fengming, the statue had exploded. There was a fiery red fruit growing under the statue. After Lu Ming refined it, his physical body had a breakthrough. What would it be this time? There was nothing. When Lu Ming went up to take a look, he realized that there was a flat floor under the statue. There was nothing. Lu Ming was indignant. He searched the area carefully but still did not find anything. I was too greedy. Lu Ming touched his nose and smiled bitterly. It seemed that it was pure coincidence that there was a fiery red fruit growing under the statue in Fengming. Moreover, he had gained a lot this time. Lu Ming was satisfied. It's been more than 2 years. It's time to leave. Lu Ming smiled and left the place. After arriving at the platform outside, Lu Ming's body began to transform rapidly with a single thought. In the end, he turned into a purple-haired royal member of the evil god tribe. A third eye appeared between his brows. Lu Ming swaggered out of the cursed land. A group of Dragonians was still standing guard outside the cursed land. "He's out." The group of Dragonians perked up when they saw Lu Ming. After all, it had been 2 years, and there had been no movement from the cursed lands. They had thought that all of the evil god race members had died in there. "How is it? What did you find in there?" A group of Dragonians surrounded Lu Ming after he came out. "Everyone, we've encountered a troublesome matter inside. We don't have enough manpower, and another group of experts from my clan has arrived. I'm going to go and help," Lu Ming said. "So that's how it is, then go." The Dragonians did not suspect him and let Lu Ming go. Lu Ming left this place easily and found a hidden place. He transformed into a dragon man and swaggered to the capital of the Dragon Man Kingdom. In the Dragon Man Kingdom's capital, Lu Ming began to collect a large number of materials related to the cursed land. If there was a statue in every cursed land, it would be of great use to Lu Ming. He might be able to cultivate his ruler Dao to an extremely high level in Netherworld Mountain. To Lu Ming, time was the only thing he was lacking. After all, Lu Ming had only been cultivating for less than 200 years. To the Celestial the Arch who had been cultivating for hundreds of thousands or millions of years, it was just a fraction of the total. If the foreign race's divine ancestor managed to obtain a healing treasure on this trip to Netherworld Mountain, the final battle would be upon them. Before that, Lu Ming had to make the best use of his time and improve quickly. Lu Ming had stayed in the capital of the Dragon Man Empire for 2 months. He had read a large number of ancient books and records about the cursed lands. There were many cursed lands in Netherworld Mountain. Some were located in important places such as near the capital of Fengming Country and the Dragon Man Empire. These places were usually guarded by experts from the native living beings of Netherworld Mountain. As for the cursed lands in the wild, because they were too isolated and the locals could not enter, they were rarely visited by people and were often left unattended. Lu Ming's target was the cursed lands in the wild. "Let's go to Yanming Mountain." Lu Ming confirmed his target and left the capital of the Dragon Man Empire. After traveling more than 100,000 miles, he transformed into his true form and summoned Heavenly Venerate 6 sages and the rest from the small world. "Senior 6 saints, I'm going to Yanming Mountain next." Lu Ming told him his goal. "Well, go with you," the Celestial said. "All right." Lu Ming nodded. The group moved together and headed towards Yanmingshan. Blazing Mountain was extremely remote and was located in the wilderness. There were very few people there, but there was a cursed place, Blazing Mountain. After flying for tens of millions of miles, they arrived at the Yanming Underground Palace. However, they were attacked the moment they entered. This underground palace had a type of puppet that was covered in flames and was very powerful. The group broke through all the way in. This underground palace should not have been plundered by anyone. Everyone had obtained many good things. However, compared to Lu Ming's gains in the Dragon People Empire, these were considered small. Lu Ming saw another statue in the depths of the underground palace. Who exactly is the owner of this statue? There's a statue in every cursed land. Could it be the master of Netherworld Mountain? Lu Ming guessed in his heart. Moreover, this statue also had a strong sense of domination. However, compared to the statue in the cursed land of the Dragon Man Empire, it was not much different. Lu Ming spent some time and completely understood it. The statue also shattered, but there was still nothing under the statue. After that, they left the Yanming Underground Palace and headed to the next cursed land. In the following days, Lu Ming and the rest went to various cursed lands in the wilderness. Some of them had some gains, but some of them were empty. Obviously, they had been plundered. However, to Lu Ming, every cursed land was a treasure trove. This was because there was a statue in every cursed land. Heavenly Venerate 6 saints and the rest knew that the statue would be of great use to Lu Ming. Therefore, they waited patiently in every cursed zone. Moreover, they had encountered alien races in some of the cursed lands and fought them. However, with Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could easily defeat those alien races. Just like that, time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. In the past 20 years, Lu Ming and the rest had explored no less than 20 cursed lands. Unfortunately, many of the statues in the cursed lands did not have a strong dominator's will. Lu Ming could easily comprehend them, but it did not improve his Tao of domination much. Even so, Lu Ming's cultivation level had improved and he had become a 5-star Great Emperor. Lu Ming's abilities had also improved. Now that Lu Ming had unleashed his full power, the combination of the way of domination and his physical body was enough to rival a 6-star heavenly emperor. I still need to find some large cursed lands. Lu Ming was deep in thought as he sat cross-legged under a statue in the cursed land. Over the years, Lu Ming had come to a conclusion. In a small-scale cursed land, the dominator's aura on the statue was relatively thin. The larger it was, the stronger the dominator's intent was and the more useful it was to Lu Ming. Chapter 2490 Situation changes. However, many of those large-scale cursed lands were in the hands of some major forces. For example, those forces with invincible powerhouses. Also, the most powerful force in Netherworld Mountain, the Netherworld Empire, was the most cursed land. Without a doubt, the Yellow Springs Empire was the ruler of the Yellow Springs world and the only force with a god. Moreover, there was more than one deity who commanded the entire Yellow Springs world. It could be said that all the forces in the Yellow Springs world were vassals of the Yellow Springs Empire. The Yellow Springs Empire. At the thought of the Yellow Springs Empire, Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. He had checked the records before and knew that the most cursed land in the Yellow Springs world was in the Yellow Springs Empire. It was said that there was a life fruit in the cursed land that could heal even the most severe injuries. Even if it was a god, it would have great effects. Moreover, there were other treasures inside. Lu Ming reckoned that the ancestral dragon and the divine ancestor of the non-human race would definitely go to the Yellow Springs Empire because only the fruit of life there could heal their injuries. However, that place wasn't a place he could go to right now. It would be a waste to go there against an existence like the foreign race's divine ancestor. It was better to focus on improving his strength first. Lu Ming closed his eyes and meditated on the will of domination on the statue before him. The dominator's intent from the statue was very faint. Lu Ming spent less than a month to fully comprehend it. After searching for a while and finding nothing else, Lu Ming met up with Sixth Saint and headed outside. After leaving the ruins, they chose a direction and flew off. Wait! After flying for a while, Lu Ming suddenly spoke and then stopped. The others also stopped. No, this area is too quiet. The experienced heavenly venerate 6 sages immediately sensed that something was amiss. This area was completely silent, as if there were no living beings, not even insects. Something was definitely wrong. At this moment, a large number of figures flashed in all directions and surrounded Lu Ming and the rest. Some of them were at the Great Emperor realm and some were at the Heavenly Emperor realm. All of them were glaring at Lu Ming and the rest with cold killing intent. Everyone, who are you? Why are you surrounding us? Lu Ming asked. The person who will kill you. A cold voice rang out, and 2 figures walked out of the crowd. Evil God Tribe. Lu Ming, 6 sages, and the others were stunned when they saw the 2 of them. Lu Ming. When the 2 members of the Evil God Tribe looked at Lu Ming, their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Kill them. One of the Evil God Tribe members gave the order. Buzz. Buzz. Whoosh. Immediately, the experts moved and charged towards Lu Ming and the rest. Hundreds of attacks were about to drown them. The strongest is the 5-star Heavenly Emperor. As soon as these people attacked, Lu Ming could determine their strength. The strongest were the 5-star Heavenly Emperors. There were only 2 of them. The others were all below the 5-star Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming immediately summoned the Divine 9-Dragon Cauldron. The 9 Divine 9-Dragon Cauldrons floated around him and blocked all the attacks. Then, with a shake, they blasted in all directions. The divine nine-dragon cauldron was so powerful that these people couldn't block it. The terrifying power blasted out, and screams rang out. These people's bodies exploded one by one. Even the two 5-star heavenly emperors were the same. Their bodies exploded and they died on the spot. The two 1-star heavenly emperors from the evil god race had even weaker cultivation bases, but they were also killed instantly. Lu Ming dashed past them and kept all the storage rings. "Let's go," Lu Ming said. Everyone left the place at top speed and flew north. However, their expressions were grave along the way. Apart from the two members of the evil god race, the rest of the people from earlier were obviously natives. Could it be that some major power had been controlled by the evil god race, so they had sent people to guard the cursed lands and hunt down the heaven realm's experts? That was their guess. They flew all the way, and 2 days later, they arrived near another cursed land. However, they saw a massacre near the cursed land. A group of people was besieging more than a dozen heaven realm experts. Moreover, those heaven realm masters were obviously at a disadvantage. There were already 7 or 8 corpses on the ground, some of which were from the human clan, and some from the divine beast clan. The ones who surrounded the heaven realm experts were obviously natives. However, they saw a few evil god tribesmen among them. "Kill!" Lu Ming and the rest did not hesitate and charged out. Lu Ming's control of the divine nine-dragon cauldron was equivalent to that of a peak heavenly emperor. There was no suspense in the battle. Lu Ming had completely annihilated these people and a few members of the evil god tribe. Many thanks. The heaven realm experts were overjoyed to have survived the disaster and thanked Lu Ming and the others. "Everyone, what's going on?" Lu Ming asked. "We don't know either." They had just finished exploring this cursed land and left the cursed land for a short distance before they were surrounded. One of the men said. "The situation is the same." Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows. For the past 2 days, they had been hurrying on their journey. They had already left the territory of the previous force and arrived at another force. However, this force's actions were the same as the previous forces. Could it be that the surrounding major forces were all controlled by the evil god tribe? Or was he working with the evil god race? Lu Ming had a bad feeling in his heart. After that, everyone gathered and left the place together. A day later, they arrived at the vicinity of a huge city. However, there were people checking the city gates around the city. "Let's go and take a look." After discussing, Lu Ming and the rest changed their appearances, concealed their aura, and walked toward a city gate. "All of you, when you enter the city, you must pass through this door, understand?" One of the Tauren widened his eyes and chided. Lu Ming discovered that there was a pitch-black door outside the city gate. It was not big and there were many strange lines carved on it. Everyone who wanted to enter the city had to pass through this door. Buzz! Suddenly, when a white-haired old man passed through the door emitted a brilliant light. "The aura of the heaven realm, kill him!" A cold shout rang out. Then, experts pounced out from all directions. So many experts. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. 2 5-star heavenly emperors and 1 6-star heavenly emperor instantly rushed out. The white-haired old man shouted and retreated, but it was too late. Bang! Bang! A few attacks landed on the white-haired old man, killing him directly. Lu Ming and the rest could not help but stop in their tracks. Damn it! It's the evil god race. Someone growled. However, he kept his voice low and didn't let it out. It's definitely the evil god tribe. The door they created can detect the heaven realm aura on our bodies. The celestial said. Chapter 2491 Great battle against Duo Lei. A person's aura could be concealed, but the aura of the world was hard to conceal. What was the aura of the world? For example, if one was born in the heaven realm or the primordial realm and cultivated in these two worlds for a long time, comprehending the nomological laws of the two worlds and absorbing the original chi of the two worlds, one's body would naturally carry the aura of the two worlds. This kind of aura was contained in the essence of life and was very difficult to conceal or remove. This was the essence of the world. After the old man entered the door, he was detected to have the aura of the heaven realm and was killed. Who would specifically search for living beings from the heaven realm? It was definitely the evil god tribe. It was obvious that the evil god tribe had created this gate. Anyone who wanted to enter the city would be detected to have the aura of the heaven realm. The people from the evil god world or netherworld mountain did not have the aura of the heaven realm. Let's go. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to everyone and then turned to leave silently. The group left the place, and 2 days later, they arrived at another large city. However, they found that there were also people checking in this big city, and there were also gates that could detect the aura of the people of the heaven realm. They left silently. In the next half a month, they traveled a long distance and passed by 5 to 6 forces and 7 to 8 big cities. But it was the same. All the forces and all the cities had people checking. What's going on? Could it be that all the powerful forces have been controlled by the evil god tribe? Someone growled, his eyes red. Lu Ming and the rest also looked grave. The premonition in their hearts grew stronger. This is troublesome. Looking at the current situation, it seemed like the evil god race was controlling all of them. If this went on, the beings of the heaven realm would lose countless experts. Furthermore, there were some important cursed lands that they could not enter. They were all going to be taken over by the evil god tribe. What do we do now? Someone asked. If they went to the cursed lands, they would be ambushed by the enemy, and they could not enter some of the important cities. Now, where should he go? To the Yellow Springs Empire. Lu Ming said. The Yellow Springs Empire? The other people's faces changed. The Yellow Springs Empire was the most powerful force in the Yellow Springs world. It had more than one god and many experts. Moreover, the biggest cursed land was in the Yellow Spring Empire. The ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor would probably rush to the Yellow Spring Empire. These people were not enough to go to the Yellow Spring Empire. Yes, to the Yellow Springs Empire. I have a feeling that something has happened there. Otherwise, why do the surrounding forces all listen to the evil god tribe's orders? Lu Ming frowned. All right, let's go. All right. The others all nodded. They immediately flew in the direction of the Yellow Springs Empire. They specifically flew to remote places and did not pass by those big cities. Boom. Boom. After flying for a few days, they suddenly heard a violent roar from ahead. Clang. There was a terrifying collision. They saw a long spear shoot up into the sky as if it was going to pierce through the firmament. At the same time, a huge battle axe appeared, crossing the sky and colliding with the long spear. Even though they were far away, they could still feel the terrifying pressure. This is. The peak heavenly emperors are fighting. The faces of heavenly venerate 6 sages and the others changed drastically. Buzz. At this moment, a bull's roar reverberated through the world. The world shook and many mountains exploded. The Titanos, Lu Ming exclaimed in shock. Lu Ming would not have misheard the Titan longhorn beetle's voice. He had heard it a few times. It was obvious that the Titan longhorn and the others had encountered a powerful enemy. Let's go. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming flew forward. Heavenly venerates 6 sages and the others also flew forward. After flying for some distance, they finally saw the scene in front of them. Lu Ming saw the Titan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives devilish silkworm. There were more than 50 people from the heaven realm. However, they were surrounded by a group of people. Among them, there were experts from the evil god tribe and Netherworld Mountain. There were more than 100 of them, which was double the number of experts from the heaven realm. The heavenly realm was completely focused on defense. On the heaven realm side, the Titan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives devilish silkworm weren't the strongest. They had yet to recover from their serious injuries and only had the battle prowess of a 5-star heavenly emperor and a 6-star heavenly emperor respectively. On the Heaven Realm side, there was a burly man in battle armor holding a spear. His combat strength was unparalleled, and he was a peak Heavenly Emperor. However, the other party also had a peak Heavenly Emperor. Duo Lei. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The peak Heavenly Emperor was actually Duo Lei, the one who guarded the eternal cage in the evil god realm. He and the armored man from the Heaven Realm were locked in a fierce battle. However, the other people in the Heaven Realm were at a disadvantage. This was because the evil god tribe had a total of 9 6-star Heavenly Emperors. Experts of this level were completely above the Heaven Realm. The Titan Longhorn Beetle, the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, and several other Heaven Realm experts were all defending with all their might, but they were still at a disadvantage. If this continued, defeat was only a matter of time. Charge out. The Titan Longhorn Beetle roared and transformed into its true form. Its horns were as sharp as blades as it charged forward. However, he had been severely injured in the past and was only a 5-star Heavenly Emperor now. He was forced to retreat by a 6-star Heavenly Emperor with one move. There were too many experts on the other side, and they were completely unable to charge out. Titan Longhorn and 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, you were lucky enough to survive the ancient battle. This time, I'll send you on your way. Attack with all your might and kill them as soon as possible. Duo Lei said coldly. The others' attacks became even more violent. At this moment, Lu Ming and the rest were rushing over. Many people could not help but look at Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming, it's you. After seeing Lu Ming, Duo Lei let out an angry roar. His cold killing intent seemed to be able to freeze the world. Back then, he had been guarding the eternal cage, but Lu Ming had escaped with a group of people. This had caused him to be punished by the higher-ups of the evil god tribe. Not only that, but he was also laughed at by the other members of the evil god tribe. It should be known that no one had ever escaped from the eternal cage since ancient times. However, during the time when Duo Lei was guarding the place, someone had managed to escape, and so many experts had escaped. All of this was Lu Ming's fault. It was all Lu Ming's fault. Duo Lei regarded this as a great humiliation and was thinking of how to settle scores with Lu Ming every day. At this moment, when he saw Lu Ming, he was really envious. As for the Titan Longhorn and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, their expressions changed drastically when they saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming, let's go. The Titanos roared. There were too many experts on the other side. Lu Ming's current cultivation level was still weak. If he charged forward, he would simply be courting death. It's too late to leave now. Let me send him on his way. A 6-star Heavenly Emperor from the evil god tribe laughed and charged at Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming did not retreat at all. He controlled the Divine 9-Dragon Cauldron and blasted it at his opponent. Boom! The Divine 9-Dragon Cauldron pressed down, and a terrifying power burst out, crushing the other party. Chapter 2492, Unknown Fate of the Ancestral Dragon. The power of the 9 Divine 9-Dragon Cauldrons was equivalent to that of a peak Heavenly Emperor. It was terrifying. The attack of the evil god race member was instantly destroyed. After being struck by the terrifying power, his body trembled violently and he retreated rapidly while spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Everyone was shocked. A 6-star Heavenly Emperor was actually repelled by Lu Ming in one move and spat out a large mouthful of blood. How was this possible? Lu Ming was so powerful. Even the Titan Longhorn Beetle blinked its huge eyes, thinking that it was seeing things. Kill! Lu Ming shouted as he forced his opponent to retreat. He continued to control the Divine 9-Dragon Cauldron to attack his opponent. Quickly come and help me. The evil god race member was shocked and retreated frantically. Buzz! Buzz! At that moment, 3 more people charged at Lu Ming. The 3 of them were all 6-star Heavenly Emperors. In addition to the evil god tribe, there were a total of 4 6-star Heavenly Emperors. 2 members of the evil god tribe, 2 natives. The four of them unleashed their full power and attacked together, unleashing a terrifying attack. Boom! Boom! The four six-star heavenly emperors' attacks hit the divine nine-dragon cauldron one after another. The divine nine-dragon cauldron kept shaking, but the four powerhouses were also forced to retreat and almost spit blood. Peak Heavenly Emperor, one of them said with a grave expression. Lu Ming's combat strength was already equivalent to a peak Heavenly Emperor. Kill. Lu Ming continued to control the divine nine-dragon cauldron, blasting it at the other party continuously. The 9 divine cauldrons resonated with each other. The roars of dragons reverberated, and the power was extremely strong. The other party had 4 6-star heavenly emperors, but they were still no match for him. They were suppressed by Lu Ming and kept retreating. At this moment, Heavenly venerates 6 sages and the others had already arrived and were attacking the other party. It was difficult to tell who was stronger. This way, the pressure on the heaven realm would be greatly reduced. Good, good. The Titan Longhorn Beetle laughed as it charged forward with all its might. His strength was really amazing. Even though he was only a 5-star heavenly emperor, he could still fight a 6-star heavenly emperor for a while. Boom! Boom! After a series of collisions, the other party had to retreat with each collision. Lu Ming had the upper hand. Pfft! Finally, the evil god tribe member who had been injured by Lu Ming could not take it anymore and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Come and help us. The evil god tribe member roared. There were a total of 9 6-star heavenly emperors. The other 2 wanted to rush over to help and attack Lu Ming together. However, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, and the others used all their strength to hold their opponent back. As a result, the battle turned into a stalemate. Lu Ming's side even had a slight upper hand. Damn it, damn it. Duo Lei roared, his face contorted. It was Lu Ming again. Lu Ming had destroyed it. Today, they could have killed the few Heaven Realm experts in one fell swoop. However, because of Lu Ming's appearance, the battle situation was now tilted. Lu Ming, die. Duo Lei's face was contorted in anger. He roared and launched an attack at Lu Ming, but it was blocked by the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. Now that Lu Ming was controlling the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron, he was not afraid of Duo Lei's attack at all. Duo Lei, how have you been? No, you don't look good. Haha. Lu Ming laughed sarcastically. At the same time, he intensified his attacks, forcing the other party to retreat. The 4 6-star heavenly emperors could only block him for a short time, but they couldn't hold on for long. Retreat, retreat. Duo Lei bellowed and launched a frenzied attack. After exchanging a few moves with the armored burly man, he took the time to launch a few attacks at Lu Ming, blocking his Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. The 4 6-star heavenly emperors took the opportunity to retreat and join the other 5 6-star heavenly emperors. Lu Ming continued to attack. However, the other party did not linger in the battle and quickly retreated. Duo Lei had also shaken off his opponent and joined up with the rest of the evil god tribe members, retreating as they fought. The forces of Duo Lei and the rest were only slightly weaker than that of Lu Ming's group. If they were bent on retreating now, it would be difficult for Lu Ming's group to make them stay. After chasing for a while, Duo Lei and the others finally retreated. Lu Ming, I didn't expect your abilities to have reached such a level. It's all thanks to your help this time. The Titan Longhorn Beetle walked over to express its gratitude. Senior, you're too kind. I also relied on the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. Lu Ming smiled and put away the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. After that, everyone introduced themselves to each other. Lu Ming knew that the burly man in armor was called Zhonli. He was a top expert who rose to power after the ancient battle. He had a peak Heavenly Emperor cultivation base and had been cultivating in the lair of Zulong all this while. Seniors, do you know what happened? On our way here, we discovered that the local major powers seem to be working together with the evil god tribe. Lu Ming asked. Something big has happened. Zhongli sighed. The Titan longhorn beetle, the 9-lives devilish silkworm, and the others also had grave expressions. Lu Ming and the 6 sages were both shocked. Even powerhouses like the Titan longhorn beetle, who had seen many great things, were like this. What exactly had happened? The reason why the surrounding forces are all listening to the evil god tribe and cooperating with them to deal with the heaven realm is because of the order from the Yellow Spring Empire. The Titan longhorn beetle said. Yellow Springs Empire, it's really the Yellow Springs Empire. Senior, what happened to the Yellow Springs Empire? Lu Ming asked. The Yellow Springs world's biggest cursed land is within the Yellow Springs Empire. It's said that there's a life fruit inside that can cure even the most serious injuries. It can even cure the injuries of deities. However, if you want to enter the cursed land, you must get the help of the upper echelons of the Yellow Spring Empire. Therefore, Senior Ancestral Dragon and the non-human race's Saint Ancestor have come to the Yellow Spring Empire to cooperate with them. In this way, there will be competition. We've received news that Senior Ancestral Dragon was defeated. The divine ancestor of the non-human race has won the trust of the upper echelons of the Yellow Spring Empire. The Titanos explained. What? Lu Ming and the rest were shocked. Zulong had lost in the competition for the Yellow Springs Empire. They finally understood why the surrounding major forces would cooperate with the evil god tribe to deal with the people from the heaven realm. That was the order of the Yellow Springs Empire. Who in the Yellow Springs world dared to disobey the order of the Yellow Springs Empire? Then, Senior Ancestral Dragon, someone asked in a hoarse voice. His life and death is unknown, the Titan longhorn beetle said. Boom! 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 It was as if thunder had exploded in everyone's minds. His life and death were unknown. No one knew whether the ancestral dragon was dead or alive. This was an unbearable blow to any living being in the heaven realm. The ancestral dragon was the backbone of the heaven realm. Now, in the entire heaven realm and the primordial realm, only Zhu Long had reached the martial god realm. The evil god tribe, on the other hand, had the non-human sacred ancestor and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart, who only had a wisp of his bloodline left. Within the war god level, they had always been at a disadvantage, and they constantly felt a sense of danger. If something happened to the ancestral dragon, then there would be no hope for the heaven realm and the primordial realm. They wouldn't be a match for the evil god tribe and would be doomed to be destroyed. Heavenly venerates 6 sages and the others all looked desperate. Chapter 2493 Meeting Xian Yanqing Translator Degree How could they fight this battle without the ancestral dragon? Senior Ancestral Dragon, you've experienced the ancient war. What kind of danger have you not encountered? Moreover, you're an expert in the martial god realm. We can't compare with you. I don't think I'll be in trouble so easily. Lu Ming said. I feel the same way. We don't have to worry fearlessly. What we have to do is to improve ourselves as much as possible and kill the evil god tribe. Zhongli said. Although he said that, everyone's hearts were still weighed down by a huge stone that was difficult to let go. There was more than one god in the Yellow Springs Empire. If they worked with the non-human divine ancestor to deal with the ancestral dragon, the situation would be hard to say. After all, the ancestral dragon was still injured and not in his peak state. Lu Ming, where are you guys going? The Titan longhorn beetle asked. We were going to the Yellow Springs Empire to find out more about the situation. Now, I've decided to go to the imperial capital of the Yellow Springs Empire. Lu Ming said. To the Netherworld imperial capital? The expressions of the Titan longhorn beetle and the others changed. That's right. I want to find out more about Senior Ancestral Dragon. Anyway, we can't go to the other forces or other cursed lands. We might as well go to the Netherworld imperial capital. Lu Ming said. Instead of hiding and wasting time, he might as well go to the Yellow Springs Empire and find out the situation. Only by knowing the specific situation would they be able to respond better. However, the gates of the imperial capital of the netherworld have been tampered with by the evil god tribe. As soon as we, the living beings of the heaven realm, approach, we will be discovered. There is no way we can enter the imperial capital of the netherworld. Zhongli sighed. Senior, I won't take risks easily. If I really can't get in, I'll stay near the Yellow Springs Empire and see if I can get anything. Lu Ming said. How about this, let's go together. The more people there are, the better we can look out for each other. The 9 Lives devilish silkworm rarely spoke. Alright, let's go together. Zhongli, the Titan longhorn beetle, and the others all nodded their heads. That's good. Seniors, you can all enter my small world. It'll be more convenient for me to act alone. Lu Ming said. All right. The others nodded. With a single thought, Lu Ming's small world appeared. Everyone turned into rays of light and entered Lu Ming's small world. After that, Lu Ming changed his appearance and headed to the Netherworld Imperial capital alone. The Yellow Springs Empire, the ruler of the Yellow Springs world, had a vast territory. The territory of the Yellow Springs Empire alone was comparable to the Taiching Heavenly region. Around the Yellow Springs Empire, there were other forces of various sizes. Lu Ming moved alone and his speed increased sharply. He traversed the void and was many times faster than before. In less than a day, Lu Ming had arrived near the Netherworld Imperial capital. The capital of the Netherworld Kingdom was extremely majestic. It was even larger than Two World City. It was larger than any city that Lu Ming had ever seen. There were many roads leading to the capital of the Netherworld Kingdom. Tens of thousands of miles away from the Yellow Springs Empire, there were towering mountains. Lu Ming appeared on a mountain and looked into the distance. As expected, the city gates of the Netherworld Imperial capital had been tampered with by the evil god race. As long as one entered, they would be able to detect the aura of the heaven realm. Lu Ming changed his direction and looked at the other city gates. It was the same. Lu Ming even saw traces of the evil god tribe at some of the city gates. How can I sneak into the Netherworld Imperial capital? Lu Ming frowned. If they could not enter the Netherworld Imperial capital, it would be very difficult for them to obtain useful information. Who is it? Suddenly, Lu Ming turned around and shouted coldly. His gaze was as sharp as a sword. He could feel that there was a disturbance in the space behind him. Lu Ming, your spiritual senses are getting sharper. A light chuckle was heard. Then, a figure flashed and a stunning woman appeared. Little Qing. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Who else could this beautiful woman be other than Xian Yanqing? Lu Ming did not expect to meet Xian Yanqing here. Lu Ming, you've made great progress in your cultivation. Xian Yanqing smiled charmingly. He walked over and held Lu Ming's hand. As your man, how can I not improve? I'll be surpassed by you. Lu Ming smiled. At the same time, he also noticed that Xian Yanqing had improved a lot. Now, Xian Yanqing's cultivation had reached the level of a 5-star heavenly emperor. When they entered Netherworld Mountain, Xian Yanqing was a 2-star heavenly emperor. In just 20 years, his cultivation had broken through 3 levels. This was extremely shocking. Xian Yanqing was a heavenly emperor, not a great emperor. It was extremely difficult for a heavenly emperor to advance. Breaking through 3 levels in a row in over 20 years. If this were to be known, it would be terrifying. Lu Ming realized that ever since Xian Yanqing devoured her memories from her previous life, her cultivation speed had become even more terrifying. It was much faster than before she devoured them. However, even so, it could not have happened so quickly. Lu Ming knew that Xian Yanqing must have had a fortuitous encounter in Netherworld Mountain. Moreover, Xian Yanqing's combat power was extremely strong. Back when he was a peak emperor, he could already fight Lu Ming. Although Xian Yanqing was a 5-star heavenly emperor now, he could definitely fight a peak emperor or even stronger. You're so smug. Do you believe that he'll beat you to the ground right now? Xian Yanqing rolled his eyes at Lu Ming, but his face was full of smiles. "Little Qin, why are you here?" Lu Ming asked. "Right now, there are traces of the evil god tribe everywhere. The other powers are all working with the evil god tribe. I heard that something happened to the ancestral dragon here, so I came to take a look," Xian Yanqing said. "It's a pity that the evil god tribe has set up formations that can detect the aura of the heaven realm at all the city gates. We can't get in at all. Otherwise, we could go in and ask for some information," Lu Ming said helplessly. The entire Yellow Springs Empire's city walls were set up with a large formation. One couldn't fly in directly. If they wanted to enter, they had to enter through the 4 city gates. "That's easy. I have a way to cover up the aura of the heaven realm on my body," Xian Yanqing said. "Do you have a way to hide the aura of the heaven realm?" Lu Ming was shocked and very surprised. It was easy to conceal one's aura. However, the auras of worlds like the heaven realm and the primordial realm were shapeless and incorporeal. They couldn't be sensed normally, but they were engraved into one's bones and soul. They couldn't be erased. "You're a creature from the heaven realm and the primordial realm, so you're born with the marks of these 2 worlds. How could Xian Yanqing cover it up?" On second thought, Lu Ming felt at ease. Xian Yanqing had devoured the memories of his previous life. Her background in her previous life was probably very shocking and unfathomable. It was normal for her to have all kinds of wondrous methods. "Well, now you know how powerful I am." Xian Yanqing smiled, then his 10 fingers bloomed like a lotus flower. Strange patterns appeared and finally condensed into a black lotus. The black lotus flew toward Lu Ming and fused into his body. "All right, I'm done," Xian Yanqing said as she continued to form seals. A lotus flower appeared on her body and disappeared in a flash. Chapter 2494, The Life or Death Pill. "All right, let's go," Lu Ming said. Naturally, he didn't doubt the effectiveness of Xian Yanqing's method. He had complete trust in Xian Yanqing. The 2 of them changed their appearances, concealed their auras, and flew toward the gates of the Netherworld Imperial capital. When they came to the city gate and looked at it up close, they realized that there were runes carved on both sides of the city gate. This was the formation set up by the evil god race. As long as a creature from the heaven realm or the primordial realm entered, those runes would immediately react. On both sides of the city gate, there was a team of armored soldiers guarding. They're all celestial emperors. Lu Ming sensed that the soldiers guarding the city gate were all powerhouses of the heavenly emperor realm. In addition, there were some experts lying in wait near the city gate. Although they were well hidden, Lu Ming had mastered the Tao of domination and ruled the heaven and earth. His senses were extremely sharp and he could easily sense them. They were all experts, and there were even peak heavenly emperors. Lu Ming was secretly shocked by the strength of the Yellow Springs Empire. The Yellow Springs world was definitely stronger than either the heaven realm or the evil god realm. Even if the 2 joined forces, they would not be able to compare. Fortunately, the people of the Yellow Springs world had been cursed for generations, making it difficult for them to leave the Yellow Springs mountain. Otherwise, the situation outside would have changed a long time ago. The 2 of them swaggered into the capital of the Netherworld Empire. There were people of all races in the Netherworld Imperial capital. There were also many humans. Naturally, no one paid attention to Lu Ming and his companion. The 2 of them walked around but did not find any traces of the evil god tribe. They found someone to sound them out but did not get much useful information. The 2 of them simply found an inn to stay in. For the next 10 days, the 2 of them wandered around the Netherworld Imperial capital, but they did not obtain much useful information. On this day, the 2 of them strolled around the largest market in the imperial capital of the Netherworld. In the Yellow Springs world, there were many treasures that couldn't be found outside. The 2 of them also bought some. That is, the first prince. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. In front of him, he saw a young man with golden hair. This young man was the first prince, who was ranked first on the evil god tribe's longevity roll. The third eye between the first prince's brows was closed. His head was full of golden hair, and he was no different from a human. He was extremely handsome, like a natural sun, attracting the attention of others wherever he went. Around them, some young women kept looking at Prince De with shining eyes. However, when they saw the woman beside the first prince, their eyes dimmed. It was an extremely beautiful woman. She wore a purple one-piece dress that accentuated her perfect figure. Compared to her, the other women around her paled in comparison. Most importantly, this woman came from a huge family in the Yellow Spring Imperial capital. It was the biggest alchemist family in the Yellow Spring Empire, the OU family. Oh Xing, the young miss of the OU family, how could those women dare to compare? The first prince and the young miss of the OU family, Oh Xing, were very close to each other as they shopped and bought things together. Lu Ming pulled Xian Yanqing along and followed behind the two of them from a distance. Since he had encountered the first prince, Lu Ming would not let him go easily. The first prince had a very high status in the evil god tribe and should know many secrets. After the first prince and Oh Xing strolled around, they left the city square and walked towards a bustling street. Not long after, they entered a wide mansion. The two of them followed him in. With Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's current cultivation, it was impossible for the first prince and Oh Xing to notice them. There was a huge courtyard behind the mansion. In the courtyard, there was a lake, and in the middle of the lake, there was a pavilion. The first prince and Oh Xing came to the pavilion. The first prince held Oh Xing's waist with one hand and chatted with her. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing appeared not far away. Lu Ming waved his hand and the space cracked open. He and Xian Yanqing entered the crack and appeared in the sky above the pavilion. When Lu Ming was at the true emperor realm, he had already comprehended the space-time law. Now that he had transformed into the ruler's Tao, his control over space had reached the point of perfection. The first prince and Oh Xing didn't notice the two of them at all as they were in the space above the pavilion. Moreover, the conversation between the two of them was clearly transmitted to Lu Ming and the rest. Xing I've heard that your OU family has a life and death pill. Is that true? The first prince asked. Of course it's true. Our OU family is the #1 alchemist family in the Yellow Spring Empire. Oh Xing laughed lightly and her tone carried a hint of pride. Is the life or death pill really as magical as the legends say? The first prince asked again. Of course. You should know that there's a tree of life on the Yellow Springs Island, the biggest cursed land in the Yellow Springs Empire. The tree of life will bear a kind of fruit called the fruit of life after a long period of time. The fruit of life possesses the miraculous power of nature. No matter how serious the injury is, it can heal it. It can even heal the injuries of gods. The life or death pill is made from the life fruit. Before the Myriad tribulation, there were people from beyond the heavens like you who brought the life fruit from the Netherworld Island. My OU family was fortunate enough to obtain one and refined it into 9 life or death pills. Although the life or death pill isn't as effective as the fruit of life, it's only useless to immortals. For those below the immortal level, no matter how serious their injuries are, even if their life essence is damaged, one pill can cure them. After so many years of consumption, my OU clan only has 3 pills left. Oh Xing explained, and her proud expression became even stronger. Life or death pill. Lu Ming's eyes were burning with passion. The life or death pill was actually refined from the fruit of life. No matter how serious the injury was, one pill would be able to heal it. Even if the source of one's life was injured, it would be the same. Lu Ming was tempted. The injury to his life source was no ordinary injury. Ordinary injuries were nothing to great emperors and heavenly emperor-level figures. Even if their bodies were to explode, they could be healed. However, it would be very difficult to recover if one's life essence was injured. If the battle was too intense, many experts would be injured. For example, the Titan longhorn beetle, the 9 lives devilish silkworm, the ancestral dragon, and the non-human divine ancestor had all been injured. They hadn't fully recovered after so many years. However, the life or death pill could heal these injuries quickly. If he could obtain the life or death pill, wouldn't the injuries of the Titan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives devilish silkworm be able to heal quickly and return to their peak state? Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing continued to listen. It's so amazing. Xing I am really curious. Can you let me take a look at the life or death pill? The first prince said. Let you see? I can't let this happen. If my father and the old ancestor find out, I won't be able to bear the consequences. Oh, Xing said. Xing I'm just curious and want to take a look. Take a look and take it back. They won't know. Don't you even believe me? The first prince said gently. In the beginning, Oh Xing didn't agree. After the first prince's coaxing and pestering, Oh Xing finally agreed and secretly took out the life or death pill for the first prince to see. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked at each other and their eyes lit up. Chapter 2495, Why are you here? The first prince and Oh Xing had agreed to meet here 3 days later. After that, they left. Initially, Lu Ming had planned to take down the first prince and gather some information. However, he had changed his mind and decided to wait for another 3 days. Naturally, he had his eyes on the life or death pill. After the first prince and Oh Xing left, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing waited in the courtyard. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. 3 days later, when night fell, the first prince had been waiting for him. In the middle of the night, a figure stepped through the air. It was Oh Xing. Xing have you brought the life or death pill? The first prince quickly asked. I did, but I have to put it back quickly. If my father finds out, it won't be good. Oh Xing said. Don't worry, I'm just going to take a look to broaden my horizons. The first prince said with a smile. Oh Xing nodded. With a wave of her hand, a jade bottle with some inscriptions on it appeared in her palm. Oh Xing's fingers waved, and runes flew toward the jade bottle. Then, the jade bottle began to emit light, and the light only dimmed down after a while. All right, I'm done. Oh Xing smiled and passed the jade bottle to the first prince. The first prince quickly took it and poured out a pill. A milky white pill the size of a pigeon's egg exuded a strong medicinal fragrance. Even Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, who were hiding in the void, could smell it. Is this the life or death pill? The first prince murmured as he lowered his head and looked at her carefully. His eyes were filled with intense greed. After examining it for a while, the first prince put the life or death pill back into the jade bottle and handed it over to Oh Xing. He smiled and said, Xing I've taken a good look. I'll return it to you. Yes, I'll return it now. Oh Xing smiled and reached out to take it. However, at this moment, the first prince's palm glowed like a battle sword. It struck towards Oh Xing's dantian at lightning speed. At such a close distance, coupled with the first prince's sneak attack, ordinary people would not be able to avoid it. However, at the moment when the first prince attacked, Oh Xing's body began to glow. A resplendent radiance spread out and turned into a battle armor that covered her entire body. At the same time, Oh Xing retreated rapidly. Boom! The first prince's palm energy struck Oh Xing's armor, but it was easily dissipated by the armor. Oh Xing retreated 100 meters and stood on the surface of the lake. Her face was extremely ugly. First, why? Oh Xing roared, her face filled with disappointment. So you've been on guard against me? The first prince's face was gloomy as he said coldly. He then raised the jade bottle in his hand and sneered, the life or death pill can heal any injury below the divine spirit realm, no matter how severe it is. Each pill is equivalent to a life. Only by following me can such a peerless pill display its true value. Do you understand? You said that you will stay in the Yellow Springs world and accompany me for the rest of your life. Was that all a lie? Oh Xing asked. Nonsense, I still have important things to do, why would I stay in this place? This place is just a cursed place. The first prince sneered. Sigh, I was too naive. Oh Xing sighed, and her disappointment became even stronger. I was going to give you a chance. If you didn't do it today, I would have treated you with all my heart. I could even ask my father to give you a life or death pill. Unfortunately, you've disappointed me. After saying that, a cold killing intent suddenly burst out from Oh Xing's eyes and she waved her hand. See la. The space behind Oh Xing suddenly split open, and two figures appeared. They were two old men in black robes, exuding a terrifying aura. They were two Heavenly Emperor realm powerhouses, one 3-star Heavenly Emperor and one 2-star Heavenly Emperor. The first prince's face darkened when he saw the two of them. He said, Bitch, not only have you been guarding against me, but you've also secretly brought people here. Are you trying to kill me? Originally, I brought them here just in case. If you didn't do anything, they wouldn't have appeared. Unfortunately, you've disappointed me. Give me the life or death pill and it'll leave your corpse intact. Oh Xing coldly said. Ha ha ha, bitch, you think I'm not prepared? I've been prepared for this. You don't trust me, and I've never trusted you. Come out. The first prince waved his hand. The void trembled, and figures appeared in the surrounding space. There were a total of 6 people, all of whom were from the evil god tribe. Moreover, all of them were Heavenly Emperor-level powerhouses. There were even 2 4-star Heavenly Emperor-level peerless powerhouses. Seeing these people, Oh Xing's pretty face turned pale. First, I'm just joking with you. For the sake of our relationship, please let me go. On Oh Xing's face, an ugly smile appeared. Let you go? I don't want to be enemies with your OU clan. Although your OU clan doesn't have a martial god and am not afraid of you, it's still a problem. You can go in peace. I'll do my best with these 3 life or death pills. Do it. The first prince laughed coldly. His voice was ice cold as he gave the order. Young miss, quickly leave. Behind Oh Xing, 2 old men took her and charged in one direction. However, the 6 members of the evil god race had also made their move. They sealed off the sky and earth, surrounding the 3 of them and unleashing terrifying attacks. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was too great. The 2 old men that Oh Xing brought were not his opponents at all. As soon as they made a move, they were blown up. Number 1 dog thief, you'll die a terrible death, you'll die a terrible death. Oh Xing crazily cursed. However, in the next moment, she was struck by the attacks of several celestial emperors and instantly turned into ashes, her body and soul destroyed. In the air, Lu Ming and Xian Yinxing were speechless. However, this was equivalent to a dog-eat-dog fight. Before this, the 2 of them naturally wouldn't make a move. After killing Oh Xing and the 2 experts of the OU family, the first prince was overjoyed. He took out the jade bottle again and poured out 3 pills. All of them were life or death pills, and the medicinal fragrance was extremely rich. Ha ha ha, what a great harvest. Let's go, let's quickly leave this place. The first prince laughed out loud. He then kept the jade bottle and turned around to leave. However, after flying for a while, he realized that the 6 members of the evil god race were still standing in the air, not moving at all. I told you to leave, didn't you hear me? The first prince turned around and said impatiently. However, the moment he turned around, his eyes widened. It was because the 6 demonic humans seemed to be frozen in the air. They couldn't move at all, and only their faces revealed a frightened expression. Who is it? The first prince's hair stood on end. He shouted and quickly turned around to check. Aren't we welcome, old friends? A chuckle was heard and the space cracked open. Lu Ming and Xian Yinxing walked out. Lu Ming, why are you here? How did you enter this place? The first prince's eyes widened as he roared in disbelief. The gate of the Yellow Springs Empire's imperial capital was engraved with a formation that could detect the aura of the heaven realm. The creatures of the heaven realm couldn't enter the imperial capital at all. The first prince did not expect to meet Lu Ming here. Chapter 2496, Life or Death Pill in Hand. Is it very difficult to enter this place? Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, "We're just passing by. We didn't expect to see such a good show. Life or death pill. Not bad. It's a waste to leave it in your hands. Leave it to me. You want the life or death pill? Dream on, run." The first prince shouted angrily, turned around, and ran. However, the next moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming suddenly released a terrifying aura that pressed down on the first prince. The first prince's body shook violently and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His face was pale. Your cultivation, the first prince was in disbelief. He was completely vulnerable in front of Lu Ming. Back then, when he had fought Lu Ming at the foot of the evil god tribe's sacred mountain, the two of them had been about the same. His cultivation had been at the peak Great Emperor realm. After all these years of cultivation, his cultivation had already reached the Heavenly Emperor realm, and he was now a 2-star Heavenly Emperor. To break through from peak Great Emperor to 2-star Heavenly Emperor in just a few decades was already extremely shocking. However, he was worlds apart from Lu Ming. Lu Ming's aura alone was enough to force him back and make him spit blood. Attack, attack together. The first prince shouted at the other 6 members of the evil god race. However, the 6 members of the evil god race could not move at all. Don't waste your energy, Xian Yanqing said. His body was covered in black light, like a demoness. She stretched out her hand, and a black lotus flower suddenly appeared on the bodies of the 6 evil god race members, enveloping them within it. In just a few breaths' time, the black lotus flower dissipated, and the 6 evil god race beings within it also disappeared without a trace. Only 6 storage bracelets were left floating in the air. The first prince's pupils contracted rapidly, and a look of fear appeared on his face. To be able to kill 6 members of the evil god race with just a raise of his hand. What kind of combat strength was that? One should know that there were 2 4-star Heavenly Emperor experts inside. To be able to do this, one must at least be a peak Heavenly Emperor, right? At the thought of this, the first prince became even more frightened. Lu Ming, I advise you to let me go obediently. Now, the ancestral dragon has been defeated, and my race's holy ancestor has cooperated with the martial god of the Yellow Spring Empire. Your heaven realm is destined to be defeated. There's no turning back. If you let me go now, I can still put in a few good words for you and spare your life. The first prince said. Spare my life? Hee, I can't trust you, and you even killed the woman who trusted you. What else can't you do? Lu Ming sneered and took a step forward. A terrifying pressure pressed down on the first prince. The first prince's body shook violently and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Tell me, how is Senior Ancestral Dragon? What happened in the capital of the Netherworld Kingdom? Lu Ming pressed. Ancestral Dragon, ha ha ha, let me tell you, he's dead. He was killed by our saint ancestor. He was skinned and his tendons were pulled out. Seeing that Lu Ming would not let him off, the first prince decided to throw caution to the wind and burst out laughing. Senior Ancestral Dragon is dead? No, that's impossible. Lu Ming's heart trembled. He then shook his head. If you want to lie to me, then I'll search for it myself. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he pointed his finger. His finger was like a spear, piercing toward the first prince's dantian. The first prince was shocked and retreated frantically, trying to avoid it. But now, Lu Ming's combat strength was much stronger than his. He could not avoid it at all and his dantian was hit instantly. Bang! The first prince's dantian had been pierced through by Lu Ming and his cultivation was crippled. The first prince let out a hysterical scream, but his voice stopped abruptly. Lu Ming pointed his finger at his glabella and began to search his soul. Lu Ming saw the first prince's memories in his soul. After a long while, Lu Ming ended the soul search. He waved his hand and kept the first prince into his small world. The first prince had a special status. He might be useful. However, the first prince's storage bracelet was in Lu Ming's hands. Let's go. Lu Ming pulled Xian Yanqing, tore open the space, and left the place. Lu Ming, what's going on? How's the ancestral dragon? Not long after, they returned to the inn. Xian Yanqing quickly asked. Senior ancestral dragon is not dead. Lu Ming smiled and briefly explained what he had seen to Xian Yanqing. It turned out that not long after they entered a netherworld mountain, the ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor had both come to the Yellow Spring Empire. Their target was the cursed land of the Yellow Springs Empire. For existences on the level of the ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor, the other cursed lands were of little use. They wanted to enter the biggest cursed land, and the life fruits inside were the most useful. However, it wasn't easy to enter the cursed land. He had to get the support of the Yellow Springs Empire. As such, the two of them started to compete in the Yellow Springs Empire. They each supported an important figure of the Yellow Springs Empire and fought for the power of the Yellow Springs Empire. Unfortunately, after decades of fighting, the side that Zhu Long supported was defeated and killed. Zhu Long also escaped from the capital of the Netherworld Empire with injuries and his whereabouts were unknown. Moreover, Lu Ming also learned that the divine ancestor of the non-human race had yet to enter the cursed land. The first prince had no idea why. The ancestor dragon was not dead. Lu Ming was finally relieved. The ancestral dragon was the key to fighting against the non-human divine ancestor. He was the only martial god in the heaven realm. In addition, Lu Ming had also discovered a clue. During this period of time, the alien race had discovered a hidden cursed land. However, it seemed that the heaven realm had entered that place. During this period of time, the alien race had been paying close attention to the cursed land and planned to send people to encircle and annihilate the heaven realm creatures in the cursed land. We can't let them succeed. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing discussed for a while before leaving the inn. Not long after, they appeared outside a huge mansion. After searching the first prince's soul, he found out that this was the evil god tribe's headquarters in the Netherworld imperial capital. If the evil god tribe wanted to send out experts, they would definitely head out from here. At that time, they only needed to follow. The two of them hid in the dark void and paid close attention to the mansion. As for Lu Ming, he took out the first prince's storage ring and began to count. The first prince had an astonishing amount of resources. There were 2 weapons that were equivalent to Heaven Dao soldiers and a large number of divine stones. Lu Ming did not bother about it. He went straight to the jade bottle. In the jade bottle, there were 3 life or death pills. Lu Ming planned to give the life-death pill to the Titan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives devilish silkworm first so that they could recover from their injuries. With a single thought, the jade bottle appeared in his small world. Lu Ming's figure appeared in his small world as well. Ever since he had attained the Great Emperor realm, Lu Ming's real body could enter his own small world. When he entered the small world, it would automatically hide in the dark void. Lu Ming took the jade bottle and walked to the place where he had planted the Path Understanding Ancient Tree. After so many years, the Path Understanding Ancient Tree had grown to 2 meters tall. It was so huge that it covered the sky. The Titan longhorn beetle, the 9 lives devilish silkworm, and the others were cultivating and chatting under the Path Understanding Ancient Tree. Chapter 2497 Preparing to attack. Upon seeing Lu Ming, the Titan longhorn beetle and the rest flew over. Lu Ming, what's the situation now? Where are you now? The Titan longhorn beetle hurriedly asked. I'm currently in the Netherworld Imperial Capital. Lu Ming said. Netherworld Imperial Capital, how did you get in? The Titan longhorn beetle's eyes widened in surprise. The others were the same. My wife used a secret technique to conceal the aura of the heaven realm. That's how I came in. I've already found information about Senior Ancestral Dragon. Lu Ming said. How is Senior Ancestral Dragon? The Titan Longhorn Beetle, the 9-lives Devilish Silkworm, and the rest looked at Lu Ming nervously, afraid to hear that something had happened to the Ancestral Dragon. Senior Ancestral Dragon didn't die. He just escaped from the Netherworld Imperial capital with injuries. Lu Ming briefly explained what he knew. That's good. Hearing that the Ancestral Dragon was fine, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. I've also received some news. The evil god tribe will probably send experts to besiege a cursed land. There should be experts from the heaven realm in there. I'm afraid we'll have to fight. Lu Ming said. Fight, we must fight, that's right. I'm going to kill that bunch of evil god race trash. The Titan Longhorn and the others roared. Seniors, Lu Ming has something to give you. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 9-lives Devilish Silkworm. The jade bottle appeared in his hand. You have something for us? The Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 9-lives Devilish Silkworm were both confused. I obtained this pill from an alchemist family in the imperial capital of the Netherworld. It's called the Life or Death Pill. It has the effect of seizing the fortune of the heavens and earth. Anyone below the martial god realm, no matter how serious their injuries are, even if their life essence is injured, can be healed. Lu Ming said. What? There's actually such a pill in this world? Everyone's mouth was wide open in shock. Lu Ming, how can we accept such a valuable pill? Then, the 9-lives Devilish Silkworm shook its head. Seniors, pills are inanimate objects. If they can't display their full power, they won't be of any value. If the 2 seniors can recover to their peak, it will be a blessing for the heaven realm. Only then will the life or death pill show its true value. Lu Ming said. That's right, that's exactly the case. The others also nodded and urged the 2 to accept it. Once the Titan Longhorn and 9-lives Devilish Silkworm recovered to their peak, they would be 2 peak celestial emperors. There were not many in the entire heaven realm who could reach this stage. All right, Lu Ming. I, Old Bull, will remember your kindness. The Titan Longhorn Beetle was more straightforward and nodded in agreement. In fact, they were also very tempted. After all, it had been countless years since the ancient battle, and they had yet to recover to their peak. This feeling was truly unpleasant. Lu Ming poured out 2 life or death pills and handed them to the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 9-lives Devilish Silkworm. The 2 of them took the pills and chose a spot each. They sat down cross-legged, swallowed the life or death pills, and began to refine them. As for Lu Ming, he left the small world and reappeared beside Xianyanqing. He continued to observe the mansion. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. There was finally some movement in the mansion. A group of experts from the Yellow Springs Empire appeared and entered the mansion. After a while, a large group of people flew out of the mansion. There were experts from the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire. There were hundreds of them. They headed straight for the western city gate. Lu Ming and Xianyanqing followed from a distance. Not long after, the experts from the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire left the city gate and headed west. Lu Ming and Xianyanqing had also successfully exited the city gate and followed from a distance. They didn't dare to get too close as there were too many experts in the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire. There were even peak heavenly emperors, not just 1 or 2, but at least 5 or 6. In addition, there were also many 6-star and 5-star heavenly emperors. This was an extremely shocking power. With so many experts being mobilized at once, it was obvious that they wanted to capture all the living beings in the heaven realm in the cursed land in one fell swoop, leaving none alive. After flying for more than a day, they came to an extremely remote place. In front of them, there was a scorching aura. It turned out that there was a large group of volcanoes in front of them, with no end in sight. Boom! 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 There were volcanoes erupting continuously, and lava shot into the sky. The air was filled with black smoke and a pungent smell, The cursed land was in the middle of the volcanoes. The people of the Yellow Springs Empire couldn't enter, so they hid outside the volcano. As for the evil god tribe, they charged into the volcano range. Boom! 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 Not long after, a terrifying explosion erupted among the volcanoes. A great battle erupted. Terrifying energy pierced through the ground. Endless lava rushed into the sky, causing the area to become even hotter. Roar! In the depths of the volcano, there was a golden lion with 9 heads. It was incomparably huge and stood tall as it roared towards the sky. The surrounding volcanoes exploded one after another in an extremely ferocious manner. Big Brother Qing Tsang. Lu Ming was shocked. It was the 9-headed golden lion Qing Tsang. Qing Tsang was a peak heavenly emperor and was extremely powerful. However, the evil god tribe also had peak heavenly emperors. In the volcano range, terrifying auras soared into the sky and collided with each other. The heaven realm has 2 peak heavenly emperors, but the evil god race has 3. Lu Ming's heart felt heavy. The evil god tribe now had 1 more peak stage heavenly emperor. Moreover, Lu Ming could sense that the evil god tribe also had more 5-star and 6-star heavenly emperors. If this continued, the heavenly realm would definitely not be a match for them. In addition, the experts of the Yellow Spring Empire were lying in ambush outside the volcano. The number of experts was even more than that of the evil god tribe. If the heaven realm creatures rushed out, it would be really dangerous. I wonder how the 2 seniors, the Titan Longhorn and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, are recovering? Lu Ming was a little anxious. If they were to attack later, they would be at a disadvantage because they didn't have enough experts. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldron and could be considered a peak heavenly emperor. Xian Yinqing could be considered a peak heavenly emperor. Including Zhonli, there were only 3 peak heavenly emperors. They were not enough. Lu Ming could sense that there were 4 peak heavenly emperors in the Yellow Springs Empire. In addition to the 3 from the evil god tribe, there were 7 of them. In addition, there was still the 6-star heavenly emperor. If the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm recovered, then there was no need to fear. Charge out! Qin Gang's loud roar rang out among the volcanoes. After that, a group of Heaven Realm experts joined forces and rushed out. The people from the evil god tribe were in hot pursuit. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed. He then entered the small world with a thought. He wanted to see if the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm had recovered. At this moment, the 2 of them were surrounded by a brilliant light and their auras were very powerful. Peak Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming could not help but feel overjoyed when he sensed their auras. The life or death pill was worthy of being a peerless divine medicine. Its medicinal effects were incomparably shocking. It had only been a few days, but the Titan Longhorn Beetle and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm had almost fully recovered. Their auras had returned to peak Heavenly Emperor. Chapter 2498 Intense battle. At this moment, the situation outside was quite critical. Qing Tsang and the others rushed out of the volcanoes and arrived at the outskirts of the cursed land. However, at this moment, the people of the Yellow Spring Empire appeared in front of Qing Tsang and the others. Their terrifying aura made Qing Tsang and the others change their expressions and stop. Another 4 peak heavenly emperors. A total of 7 peak heavenly emperors. You really think highly of us? Qing Tsang sneered as his 9 heads looked around. Beside Qing Tsang, there was a phoenix flapping its wings, and its body was covered in black flames. It was a black phoenix, a peak heavenly emperor, the king of the phoenix race in the heaven realm. Ha, Qing Tsang, you'll see how you die today, ha 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 ha. A loud laugh came from behind. The experts of the evil god tribe had blocked Qing Tsang and the others' escape route, making it impossible for them to escape. Duo Lei, why aren't you guarding the eternal cage? Be careful not to let anyone escape. Qing Tsang sneered, his voice filled with mockery. The one from the evil god tribe who had just spoken was Duo Lei. Upon hearing Qing Gang's words, Duo Lei's eyes turned extremely ferocious as he roared, "So what if you've escaped from the eternal cage, Qingsong? Hell still die in my hands. And that Lu Ming kid, I'll tear him into pieces sooner or later. Charge back to the cursed lands." Qingsong secretly sent a message to the beings in the heavenly realm. They would only have a chance if they rushed back to the cursed land. Outside, they would have to face the double siege of the evil god tribe and the Yellow Springs Empire. They would be in grave danger. It's too late. In the small world, Lu Ming was a little anxious. He then sent a voice transmission to the Titan Longhorn and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm. "Senior, quickly wake up. Senior, quickly wake up." Lu Ming kept transmitting his voice. Boom. Boom. The auras of the Titan Bull and the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm suddenly skyrocketed. Then, they rapidly contracted before opening their eyes. "Is the war about to start?" the Titan Longhorn Beetle asked. "That's right. It's an urgent matter, so I can only disturb the two of you," Lu Ming said. "It's fine. I've almost recovered. Let's go out and fight," the Titan Longhorn Beetle said. "Let's go." Lu Ming controlled the small world. The next moment, everyone in the small world appeared outside. At this moment, Qingsong and the others also made their move. They immediately charged toward the evil god tribe behind them, wanting to rush back to the cursed land. Kill. The experts from the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire also made their moves. Kill. At this moment, Lu Ming roared and his voice reverberated in all directions. Then, he rushed towards the people of the Yellow Springs Empire. What's going on? The people of the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire were stunned. In just a short moment, they had already arrived. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldron and charged at a peak heavenly emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire. At the same time, Xian Yanqing joined forces with Lu Ming to attack one person. The Titan Longhorn Beetle and the others also launched their attacks. On Lu Ming's side, there were 5 peak heavenly emperors. Their sudden appearance caught the Yellow Springs Empire off guard. The peak stage heavenly emperor who was attacked by Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was severely injured. The other experts of the Yellow Springs Empire were also pushed back and suffered different degrees of light injuries. "Titan, 9 lives, it's you. Ha ha ha, kill." Qingsong was overjoyed to see the Titan Longhorn and the others. He turned around and was about to kill the experts of the Yellow Springs Empire. However, after being stunned for a moment, Duo Lu and the others also reacted and charged toward Qingsong and the others. The scene was in a chaotic battle. The total number of peak heavenly emperor powerhouses from both sides was the same, 7. However, just now, Lu Ming and the others had sneaked an attack and injured one of the opponents. They had the upper hand in terms of the number of peak heavenly emperors. An intense chaotic battle broke out. Lu Ming's side had the slight upper hand. If it were not for the fact that the Yellow Springs Empire and the evil god tribe had more 6-star heavenly emperors, the battle would have been one-sided. Lu Ming, damn it, damn it. Duo Lei roared in his heart. It was Lu Ming again. Every time, Lu Ming would ruin his plans. Lu Ming was simply his nemesis. He was so furious that he could not wait to crush Lu Ming's bones and scatter his ashes. "If you want to kill me, then come." Lu Ming controlled the 9 divine 9-dragon cauldrons and hurled them at Duo Lei. Duo Lei also unleashed his powers in a frenzy, wanting to kill Lu Ming. The two of them collided continuously, but it was difficult to determine the victor. Ah! At this moment, a 6-star heavenly emperor of the evil god tribe was killed by Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, and the rest each had an opponent and they fought fiercely with each other. Xian Yanqing, on the other hand, did not have any peak heavenly emperor to stop him. The peak stage Heavenly Emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire was severely injured at the beginning. He was at most as strong as a 6-star Heavenly Emperor, and there were 5 or 6-star Heavenly Emperors surrounding Xian Yanqing. However, Xian Yanqing's combat strength was beyond their imagination. He became more and more courageous, and his attacks were unpredictable. After a dozen moves, he successfully killed a 6-star Heavenly Emperor. Exterminate. As Xian Yanqing spoke, his body emitted a black light. The black light turned into black lotuses. The petals of the lotuses flew out and formed a black sword that slashed at his opponent. On the other side, the 5 6-star Heavenly Emperors were flustered by Xian Yanqing's attack and were in danger. Come and help us. A 6-star Heavenly Emperor roared. However, the chaotic battle was intense, and everyone had an opponent. How could they draw out so many experts? Pfft! Suddenly, another 6-star Heavenly Emperor was pierced through the forehead by Xian Yanqing's sword light and died on the spot. Ah, damn it! Duo Lei howled, wanting to push Lu Ming back and attack Xian Yanqing. However, Lu Ming controlled the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron and fought back with all his might. He blocked Xian Yanqing's attack with all his might, leaving him no energy to attack Xian Yanqing. Gather, gather together. A peak great emperor from the Yellow Springs Empire roared. At this moment, they were at a disadvantage and had to gather their strength to defend. All the people from the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire started to gather. They got close to each other and got into a defensive position. Initially, Lu Ming and the rest had the upper hand by a slight margin. Now that the other party was on the defensive, they could not take down the other party. Very quickly, the people from the evil god tribe and the Yellow Springs Empire gathered together and formed a defensive formation that was as strong as iron. They blocked the attacks from Lu Ming and the others and finally stabilized the situation. The two sides fought for a while, then separated into 2 camps and confronted each other. They all knew that if there were no accidents today, no one could do anything to the other. However, Lu Ming and the rest had achieved their goal of saving people. The faces of Duo Lei and the others were ugly. Today, they had failed to kill anyone, and instead, a few 6-star Heavenly Emperors had died. It was a big loss. When my race's divine ancestor recovers, you'll all die. Go. A peak Heavenly Emperor from the evil god tribe spoke coldly. Then, the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire retreated unwillingly. Lu Ming and the rest did not pursue. The other party was on the defensive. It was useless even if they pursued. Chapter 2499 Furious, Ancestral Dragon appears. The people from the evil god tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire had disappeared in the blink of an eye. Huh, Lu Ming, you're amazing. Qing Tsung laughed and looked at Lu Ming with gratitude and shock in his eyes. He remembered that when he first met Lu Ming's abilities were barely enough to deal with the weakest 1-star Heavenly Emperor. However, Lu Ming was already able to fight with a peak Heavenly Emperor. Although he had the help of the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron, it was still extremely shocking. It had only been a few decades. A few decades was just a blink of an eye to them. He had lived for a long time and had never seen such a stunning person like Lu Ming. This is, as he spoke, Qing Gang's gaze turned to Xian Yanqing. Beside him, the Black Phoenix had also transformed into a human. It was a middle-aged woman with a good figure. At this moment, she also looked at Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing was very young, but his combat strength was extremely powerful. He was a peak Heavenly Emperor. Most importantly, they didn't know him, so they were naturally curious. This is my wife. Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's hand and said. Your wife, Qing Tsung, the Black Phoenix, and the others were all shocked. May I ask, how many years has sister-in-law been cultivating? Qing Tsung asked curiously. Little Qing is about the same age as me. Lu Ming smiled. This, Qing Tsung, the Black Phoenix, and the others looked at each other, completely dumbfounded. Sigh, I'm old. I thought I had good talent, but compared to you two, I'm simply a waste. Qing Tsang sighed as if he had suffered a great blow. Lu Ming touched his nose and smiled bitterly. Old lion, aren't you looking for trouble by comparing yourself to Lu Ming and the rest? The Titan longhorn beetle laughed. Ha ha ha, that's true. Qing Tsang laughed. After chatting for a while, they left the place, afraid that the other party would send more powerful experts. After leaving, they chatted as they walked. Qing Tsang and the others also learned about the ancestral dragon. I wonder where senior ancestral dragon is. That's right. If this continues, the most cursed land will be entered by the foreign divine ancestor. If he obtains the life fruit, we'll be finished. The Titanos and the others sighed. The Titan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives devilish silkworm had consumed the life or death pill before and knew its effects. The life or death pill was made from the fruit of life. If the divine ancestor of the non-human race could get the fruit of life, he might really be able to recover. If even Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's injuries were healed, they would have even less hope. Everyone was worried, but also helpless. With their strength, they could not compete with the other party at all. After that, they planned to enter some cities to scout for information. If the divine ancestor of the outsiders wanted to enter the biggest cursed zone, there should have been news of it. Not long after, they arrived at a large city. The others entered Lu Ming's small world while Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing cast a secret technique to enter the large city. After that, the two of them stayed in this large city, cultivating and gathering information at the same time. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. One day, they heard a piece of news that made them furious. In the imperial capital of the Netherworld, the evil god tribe released news that they had captured some heaven realm beings and tied them to the eastern city gate of the imperial capital of the Netherworld. 3 months later, they would kill them all. The news spread like a whirlwind. When Lu Ming told the Titan longhorn beetle and the rest of the people about this news, they were furious. Kill our way over and save those people. The Titan longhorn beetle had the most irascible temper, and it roared angrily. Don't act rashly. The evil god tribe is trying to lure us over so that they can capture us all in one fell swoop. This is definitely a trap. The 9 lives devilish silkworm said. Are we just going to watch those people die in vain? What if those people have your family and friends? The Titan longhorn beetle glared. I'm saying, we can't act rashly, we need to think of a foolproof plan. The 9 lives devilish silkworm said. Let's go and observe the situation first. Lu Ming said. I think so too. Let's go and observe first before making a decision. Even if we're going to take action, we'll have to gather more people. The 9 devils devilish silkworm said. After that, the others remained in Lu Ming's small world. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing changed their appearances and headed for the Netherworld imperial capital. Soon, they arrived at the eastern gate of the capital of the Netherworld. They stood on a mountain peak outside the eastern gate and looked ahead. There were indeed some people tied up outside the east gate of the Yellow Springs Empire. They all looked haggard and weak. There were a lot of them, almost 200 of them. Long Chen, Feng Ling, Ouyang Wushuang. Among them, Lu Ming saw Long Chen, Huang Ling, and Ouyang Wushuang. Damn it. Lu Ming was a little anxious. These were all his best friends. In fact, Lu Ming even saw Yuan Xian in the crowd. This child of destiny could not control her own fate and was tied up. Lu Ming had also met some of the older generation. We must save them. Lu Ming's eyes were shining with determination. However, he could not act rashly. Lu Ming estimated that there were terrifying powerhouses hiding near the east gate. Even a martial god like the divine ancestor might be nearby. If he rushed out rashly, he would only be courting death. What should I do? Lu Ming was a little anxious. There were only 3 months left. After 3 months, Long Chen, Feng Ling, and the others would be killed. Lu Ming, don't be anxious. You have to calm down. Xian Yinxing held Lu Ming's hand and Lu Ming slowly calmed down. In the next few days, the two of them observed the area and thought of countermeasures. However, the difference in strength was too great, and it was really difficult for them to think of a countermeasure. Lu Ming. At this moment, a voice was heard in Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming's body trembled when he heard this voice. That was because it was the voice of the ancestor dragon. Sure enough, a figure walked out of a mountain not far away. If it wasn't the ancestral dragon, who could it be? Zhu Long took a step forward and came to Lu Ming and the rest. Senior ancestral dragon, it's great that you're fine. Lu Ming was overjoyed. With the appearance of the ancestral dragon, they had hope. I was injured in the Netherworld Imperial capital, but it's not a big deal. Zulong said. Senior ancestral dragon, what should we do next? Lu Ming asked. Let's leave first. I'll leave some people here to guard the place. If other people from the heaven realm come, call them to meet us. Well, gather our people first and think of a way to save them. Zhu Long said. Then, he left the place with Lu Ming and the rest and appeared in a secret place a million miles away. Lu Ming saw many familiar faces in the heaven realm. For example, the five elements Qilin. They just waited there. As expected, in the next few days, there were people coming here to meet up. Chapter 2500, Yellow Spring Sect. The ancestral dragon had left some people outside the capital of the Netherworld Empire. During this time, most of the creatures in the heaven realm would go to the periphery of the Netherworld Empire to inquire about the news. This way, they could come back. On the third day, Lu Ming saw Dandan. After not seeing her for some time, Dandan's cultivation level had increased by a lot and she had reached the 4-star Heavenly Emperor level. Lu Ming chatted with Dandan for a while and found out that this fellow had encountered some fortuitous encounters. On the 5th day, Bubbles arrived. Currently, her cultivation base had reached the peak Great Emperor realm and she was only a step away from becoming a Heavenly Emperor. On the 6th day, Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli came together, which made Lu Ming overjoyed. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli's cultivation had both stepped into the Great Emperor realm. Lu Ming finally heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Xiangxiang and the rest were fine. Lu Ming was relieved. As time passed, more and more people gathered here. However, Lu Ming still could not think of a very effective method. On this day, Lu Ming went to find the ancestor dragon. Senior, I have a heaven's favorite of the Outlander race in my hands. He's the son of the king of the number 1 royal race of the Outlander race, and he's known as the strongest heaven's favorite in the history of the evil god race. Perhaps we can use him to exchange for him. Lu Ming said. The first prince was still in Lu Ming's hands. He had been kept in the small world. He did not kill the first prince back then because he thought that it might be useful in the future. The first prince's identity was not to be underestimated. Perhaps he could exchange for Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the others. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Zhu Long frowned. Although the first prince is important, you're still the most important person in the eyes of the non-human divine ancestor. Once you appear, the non-human divine ancestor will probably kill you immediately. He won't care about some non-human genius. Lu Ming frowned. The non-human divine ancestor seemed to know that he had cultivated the path of domination. Perhaps he really did not care about the first prince's life and wanted to kill him. Senior, do you have a good plan? Lu Ming asked. Whether it's to save people or to fight the non-human divine ancestor, there's only one way now, and that's to go to the Yellow Spring Sect. Zulong said. Yellow Spring Sect? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right. The Netherworld Sect is an extremely secretive sect in the Netherworld world. It doesn't care about worldly affairs and only focuses on cultivation. Even the people in the Netherworld world don't know about it. I've stayed in the imperial capital of the Netherworld for a while and learned about it from some ancient books. It said that the Netherworld Sect and the Netherworld Empire were of the same lineage in the early days. However, Some people were keen on secular power and established the Netherworld Empire, while some people who were not keen on secular power and established the Netherworld sect in seclusion. Zhu Long explained. Is the Netherworld sect very strong? Lu Ming asked. Strong, of course, they are strong. Although they don't have as many people as the Yellow Springs Empire, their top combat force is not weaker than the Yellow Springs Empire. As far as I know, there are 2 martial gods in the Netherworld Empire and 2 in the Netherworld sect. Zulong said. 2 war gods. Lu Ming was shocked. Not to mention anything else, the 2 martial gods were already enough to shock the world. As long as we can obtain the support of the Netherworld sect, not only can we save people, but we can also fight against the divine ancestor of the non-human race. Zulong said. He sighed and said, if we can't get the support of the Netherworld sect, we can only do it ourselves. Lu Ming nodded. Time passed day by day, and a month had already passed since the 3 months that the evil god tribe had given him. At this time, more than 500 people had gathered in the Heaven Realm. At this time, Zhu Long was also ready to leave for the Yellow Spring sect. However, he didn't bring that many people with him. He only brought Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, and 10 other people to the Netherworld sect. The Netherworld sect was located in the northernmost part of the Netherworld world. It was almost at the edge of the Netherworld. The ancestral dragon brought them to a mountain range. There were countless mountains here. Soon, they arrived in front of a tall mountain. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge stone tablet. The stone tablet was ancient and covered in moss. In the middle of it, there was a huge Huang character. The mountain gate was empty. Was this the Netherworld sect? Everyone was puzzled. But since they were already here, they could only continue forward. They didn't fly, but walked up the mountain stairs. When he passed by the stone tablet, Lu Ming sized it up curiously and felt that it looked familiar. Very soon, they were halfway up the mountain. Suddenly, the space moved and 4 figures appeared in front of them, blocking Lu Ming and the rest. Halt, this is the Yellow Spring sect. A middle-aged man said. Everyone, we would like to see your sect's leader. Zhu Long cupped his fists and said. Everyone, my sect master is not seeing guests. Please leave. The middle-aged man waved his hand with a cold expression. You haven't even seen him before, how do you know he's gone missing? We have something important to discuss with your sect leader. The Titan Longhorn Beetle shouted. Everyone, please return. The middle-aged man continued to speak, but his voice was cold. It was obvious that he wanted to drive the guest away. You didn't even hear why we're here. What's the meaning of this? The Titan Longhorn Beetle grumbled unhappily, and a powerful aura erupted from its body. Boom! Boom! Just as the Titan Longhorn Beetle's aura erupted, the 4 people in front of it also released powerful auras. 3 6-star Heavenly Emperors and 1 Peak Heavenly Emperor. The expressions of Lu Ming and the group changed slightly. The cultivation of the 4 people in front of him was already extremely shocking. Not only that, but there were also many shocking auras coming from the mountain peak. They were like terrifying air waves that pressed down on this side. Lu Ming could sense that there were no less than 10 Peak Heavenly Emperor auras. There were even a few auras that were extremely shocking, even above Peak Heavenly Emperor. Whoa, there are so many experts here, and there are even invincible figures who are half a step into the martial god realm. The Titan Longhorn Beetle grinned, its eyes filled with shock. This Yellow Springs sect was indeed terrifying. The Titan Longhorn Beetle had only released its aura, but it was like poking a hornet's nest, causing a bunch of experts to appear. Perhaps, this was only a portion of them. Who knew how many more experts there were in the dark? Everyone, please calm down. We have no ill intentions. We are only here to seek cooperation. The ancestral dragon stepped forward and said. Then, he looked at the peak of the mountain and said, Fellow Taoists, I have a matter to discuss with you. The ancestral dragon's voice came from far away, and at the same time, he gave off a strange aura. Fellow Taoist, why have you come to the Netherworld sect? At this time, an old voice came from the peak of the mountain. Then, a light flashed and a figure appeared in front of everyone. It was an old man with white hair and a sage-like air. We pay our respects to the sect leader, Elder. The people from the Yellow Springs sect saluted the old man respectfully. Lu Ming and the rest felt a chill in their hearts. They knew that the old man was a battle god. The two sect masters of the Yellow Springs sect were both at the martial god realm. Fellow Taoist, we're here to seek your cooperation. Zulong said. Cooperation? Though you, height _HRL Olderwhack are TI 771 or 1. Chapter 2501 Tokens use Lu Ming and the rest did not interrupt the conversation between the white-haired elder and the ancestral dragon. The Titan longhorn beetle also kept its mouth shut. This was a martial god. Only the ancestral dragon, who was also a martial god, had the right to speak to such a person. Otherwise, if it wasn't for the ancestral dragon, he probably wouldn't even want to see them. That's right. Well, work together. You can help us enter the Netherworld Island and split the treasures we get on the island 50-50. It's beneficial to everyone. How about it? Zulong said. Yellow Springs Island? The white-haired old man was stunned for a moment. Then, he sighed and said, it seems that you all came from beyond the heavens. Time passes so quickly. The tribulations have passed so quickly. The white-haired old man's voice was filled with complicated emotions. The white-haired old man seemed to think of something, and after a long while, he said, you can go now. My Yellow Springs sect has no interest in Yellow Spring Island. Not interested? Zhu Long's eyes narrowed. Lu Ming and the rest were shocked. Was he going to fail? Fellow Taoist, how about this? As long as you do us a favor, all the treasures we get on the Yellow Springs Island will belong to you. How about it? Zhu Long was unwilling to give up and continued. I said, I'm not interested. See the guest out. The white-haired old man waved his sleeve and turned to leave. Everyone, please. The middle-aged man from before waved his hand. Lu Ming and the group looked a little pale. He didn't expect that the people of the Yellow Springs sect didn't care about the treasures on the island at all. If they couldn't get help from the Netherworld sect, how could they fight against the Netherworld Empire and the Divine Ancestor? The Titan longhorn beetle and the others were anxious, but they couldn't think of anything. Hey, let's go. Zhu Long was also helpless. He turned around and walked down the mountain. Soon, they arrived at the foot of the mountain. If you don't want to help, then don't help. At most, go and save them ourselves. It's just death. The Titan longhorn beetle cursed, feeling extremely unhappy. However, Lu Ming stopped and continued to study the stone tablet in front of the Yellow Spring sect. The more he looked at it, the more he felt that the stone tablet looked familiar. That's right, that token. Suddenly, Lu Ming thought of the token. With a thought, a token appeared in his hand. This token was the one that he and Dandan had obtained in the core area of the Void God Island. The appearance of this token was very similar to the stone tablet in front of the Yellow Spring sect's mountain gate. Previously, the stone tablet was covered in moss. Lu Ming felt that it looked familiar. Now that he took a closer look, Lu Ming finally remembered. Buzz! Just as Lu Ming took out the token, the stone tablet in front of the mountain gate of the Yellow Springs sect suddenly trembled. The yellow character suddenly emitted a dazzling radiance. At the same time, the token in Lu Ming's hand also vibrated, and light flowed out continuously. The next moment, Lu Ming was shocked to discover that a word had suddenly appeared in the middle of the token. It was a yellow word. Lu Ming was shocked. Ever since he had obtained this token, he had studied it a lot, but he had not found anything. There were no words in the middle of the token either. But now, a yellow character had suddenly appeared. This way, the token and the stone tablet looked exactly the same. The ancestral dragon, the 9 lives devilish silkworm, the Titan longhorn beetle, and the others were also extremely shocked, not understanding what was going on. At this moment, a figure flashed. The white-haired old man reappeared. He looked at the token in Lu Ming's hand in shock. Then, he looked at Lu Ming and said, "The underworld token. How did you get it? How did you get it? Yellow Springs token?" Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It turned out that this token was called the underworld token. "Senior, this token was obtained by this junior from a Void God Island," Lu Ming said. "Void God Island? Tell me, who gave you the token? What does he look like?" the white-haired old man asked, puzzled. Lu Ming immediately described the appearance of the statue on the Void God Island. So it's him, it's heaven's will." The white-haired elder sighed and looked at Lu Ming. "Back then, that person did us a favor. We gave him this token and promised that if someone came to our sect with this token, we would help them unconditionally." "What?" Lu Ming, Zhu Long, and the others were overjoyed when they heard this. Help him unconditionally once? Then, he could ask for help from the Netherworld sect. "What's your name?" the white-haired old man asked. "Junior is Lu Ming." Lu Ming said. "Yes, Lu Ming. If you have any requests, feel free to let me know." The white-haired old man said. "Senior, it's like this." Immediately, Lu Ming briefly explained the grudges between the Heaven Realm and the Evil God Tribe, then he talked about the situation here. "I ask for the help of the seniors of the Yellow Spring sect to fight against the Yellow Spring Empire and enter the Yellow Spring Island." Lu Ming made his request. "I'm afraid it's very difficult for us to enter the Netherworld Island alone," the white-haired old man said. "Alt? What's going on?" Lu Ming was surprised. "You don't know yet, right? The entrance to the Netherworld Island is guarded by a group of puppets. There are 4 puppets in this group, which are equivalent to the martial god realm. Therefore, we can't get in with our strength alone," the white-haired old man said. "For war god realm puppets?" Lu Ming, the ancestral dragon, the Titan longhorn beetle, and the rest looked at each other. This Yellow Springs Island was too terrifying. There were 4 martial god realm puppets at the entrance. They were martial gods. One had to know that there were only 2 martial gods in the Evil God Realm and Heaven Realm, and they were both injured. Lu Ming finally understood why the divine ancestor of the non-human race had not entered Netherworld Island. It was because he could not. Therefore, if we want to enter the Yellow Springs Island, we must cooperate with the Yellow Springs Empire, the white-haired old man said. Cooperation? Lu Ming and the rest were in deep thought. "Senior, please help us save our people," Lu Ming said. "That's fine. I'll gather some people and then set off," the white-haired elder said. Then, he turned around and disappeared into the Yellow Spring sect. "Brother Lu Ming, you're amazing." Qing Tsang and the others were overjoyed. He did not expect that he would be able to get help from the Netherworld sect with Lu Ming's token. Lu Ming sighed secretly. Life was really wonderful and unpredictable. He had not expected that the token he had obtained on the Void God Island would be of such great use in the Yellow Springs world. This token would probably be able to change the entire situation. Not long after, a large number of experts flew out from the mountain peak of the Yellow Spring sect. Next to the white-haired old man, there was another white-haired old woman, who was also at the martial god realm. The group flew towards the capital of the Netherworld Kingdom. Chapter 2502 War gods gather in a golden palace in the capital of the Yellow Springs Empire. The non-human divine ancestor, the emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire, and a grand elder were also discussing something. "Your Majesty, is there no way to enter the Yellow Springs Island?" the non-human divine ancestor said. "There are 4 puppets at the entrance of the Netherworld Island. We can't do it alone. We have to cooperate with the Netherworld sect." However, the two old fogies of the Netherworld sect are stubborn and have a grudge against us. Even if we go to them, I'm afraid they won't agree. The Emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire said. No matter what, I have to give it a try. How about this? After I deal with Zhu Long and the others, they'll go to the Netherworld sect and see if I can invite those two to come out. The non-human divine ancestor said. After chatting for a while, the non-human divine ancestor left. Lu Ming and the rest set off and met up with the people from the Heaven Realm. Then, they headed for the Netherworld Imperial Capital. In the Netherworld Imperial Capital, outside the Eastern City Gate, nearly 200 people, including Long Chen and Feng Ling, were tied up outside the city gate. It had been more than a month. It's been more than a month, and no one has come to save you. It seems that you people from the Heaven Realm have given up on you. Ha ha ha. Duo Lei stood above Long Chen's group and sneered coldly. Long Chen and the others looked cold and did not respond. I'm telling you, there's no hope for the Heaven Realm. You've been completely defeated. This time, in the Yellow Springs world, my clan will kill all your experts. When we get out, we'll flatten the Heaven Realm and kill all of you. Said Duo Lei resentfully. Duo Lei, do you only know how to talk now? At this moment, a mocking voice sounded. Who is it? Duo Lei suddenly turned around, his cold eyes sweeping across the room. Me. The voice rang out. Then, the void rippled and a figure appeared. That person was Lu Ming. However, he was the only one who appeared. Lu Ming. Upon seeing Lu Ming, Duo Lei's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Buzz. Whoosh. The void trembled and cracked open. From the spatial crack, figures stepped out one after another. They were all experts from the Evil God Tribe and the Yellow Spring Empire. There were no less than 10 peak heavenly emperors. Their terrifying auras completely enveloped Lu Ming. When they saw Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Feng Ling, their faces changed. Lu Ming, let's go. Leave quickly. Phoenix Spirit and Dragon Chen shouted. Leave? To where? Lu Ming, you dare to come alone. You're really stupid. Stay then. Duo Lei sneered. Oh, really? Look who this is. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He reached out and grabbed at the air. A figure suddenly appeared in his hands. The first prince. Seeing this person, Duo Lu and the others' expressions changed drastically. Lu Ming, release the first prince. Duo Lei shouted anxiously. He had never expected that the first prince was in Lu Ming's hands. If you want me to let him go, that's fine, but you have to let him go first. Lu Ming said. All right, well, release one and you'll release one. Said Duo Lei. Ha ha, what a joke. You guys let one go? I'll use the first prince in exchange for all of you. Do you understand? Lu Ming laughed out loud. All of them? Impossible, don't even think about it. Duo Lei shouted. If you don't let go, hell die. Lu Ming said coldly, his body exuding a cold killing intent. Duo Lei's group grimaced. They were hesitant. The first prince's status was no small matter. He was the son of the king of the #1 royal tribe. He was extremely talented, and his bloodline was the closest to the non-human divine ancestor. He was known as the most talented person in the history of the Evil God Tribe. They couldn't bear the responsibility of such an identity if he died. Let go or not? Lu Ming said coldly. This was their plan. Lu Ming would first exchange the first prince for Long Chen and the rest. It would be best if the exchange was successful. There would be no risk. After all, if they were to fight, the situation would become chaotic. Long Chen and Huang Ling would not be able to fight back, and it would still be risky. Duo Lei and the other experts of the Evil God Tribe were hesitant. For a moment, the situation was in a stalemate. Boom! At this moment, the sky cracked open and a terrifying palm stretched out, blasting towards Lu Ming. The power of the palm was terrifying and unstoppable. Even a peak heavenly emperor would be turned into ashes under this palm. The war god. It was obvious that the divine ancestor of the non-human race had made his move to kill Lu Ming. Even the first prince was caught up in it. Roar. A dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth as a huge dragon claw formed and grabbed at the giant hand. With a heaven-shaking roar, the giant hand collapsed and the dragon claw retracted. The next moment, a figure appeared beside Duo Lei. This figure with long golden hair was the non-human divine ancestor. The ancestral dragon's figure appeared beside Lu Ming. Ancestral dragon, you've come. The non-human divine ancestor said coldly. His long golden hair fluttered in the wind, making him look majestic. Mo Ku, you're really ruthless. In order to kill Lu Ming, you don't even care about the life and death of your descendants? Zulong said. Anyway, his cultivation has already been crippled. He's just a piece of trash. It's fine if I kill him. The non-human divine ancestor said coldly. Hee, Moke, you're still as cold and ruthless as ever. Zulong laughed sarcastically. Ancestral dragon, I knew you would show up. All of you from the heaven realm have come. Today, you will stay here forever. The non-human divine ancestor said coldly, and a terrifying aura exploded out. Buzz. Space trembled, and two figures suddenly appeared next to the voice of the non-human divine ancestor. One was the emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire, and the other was a supreme elder. The two martial gods of the Yellow Springs Empire had appeared. Moke, do you think I'll come unprepared? Zulong sneered, his face calm. The next moment, two figures suddenly appeared beside Lu Ming. They were the two martial gods of the Netherworld sect. It's you guys. Seeing the two martial gods of the Netherworld sect, the emperor of the Netherworld Empire widened his eyes in surprise. I didn't expect that you two would come out of the mountain even though you claim to be indifferent to the world. The emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire spoke with a faint mocking tone. You don't need to meddle in our business. Longyan, let him go. The white-haired old man from the Yellow Springs sect said. Long Yen was the name of the emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire. It's not that easy to release them. The non-human divine ancestor said with a dark expression. Long Yen had once said that the two martial gods of the Netherworld sect did not care about worldly affairs. They were old and stubborn, and it was very difficult for them to leave the mountain. He did not expect that they would be with Lu Ming and the others. In this way, his advantage was gone. How could he be in a good mood? He was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. The advantage that he had spent so much effort to gain was gone just like that. Moke, it seems like you want to start a war. Zulong said. The dragon power on his body was getting stronger and stronger. Chapter 2503 Attacking Yellow Springs Island. Translator. 6 martial gods appeared outside the east gate of the capital. The 6 martial gods confronted each other and emitted terrifying fluctuations. Their auras filled the sky and earth, shrouding the entire imperial capital of Netherworld. All the living beings in the capital felt as if there was a huge rock pressing down on their hearts. It was so unbearable that they wanted to vomit blood. The auras of the 6 martial gods were too terrifying. If they were to fight, it would probably be earth-shattering. The atmosphere at the scene was extremely heavy. How about this? At this moment, the emperor of the Yellow Springs Empire, Long Yen, looked at the white-haired elder and said, Elder Huang, if you agree to join hands with us to break through the puppets outside the Yellow Springs Island and help them enter the island, we can let these people go. Long Yen still wanted to let the divine ancestor and the others enter Netherworld Island, as they had already agreed on a 50-50 split of the treasures they obtained on the island. They couldn't enter the Yellow Springs Island themselves. If they missed this opportunity, they would have to wait for another 10,000 tribulations. The non-human divine ancestor's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. He also wanted to enter the Yellow Springs Island. Lu Ming, what do you think? The white-haired elder looked at Lu Ming. The non-human divine ancestor, Long Yan, and the others were all very surprised. The white-haired elder, a martial god, actually wanted to ask for Lu Ming's opinion. What was their relationship with Lu Ming? Agree to their request. However, we must also enter the Yellow Springs Island together. Lu Ming said. This was the only way to save Long Chen and the others. Alright, let's join forces. However, they have to enter the Yellow Springs Island together. The white-haired elder pointed at the ancestral dragon, Lu Ming, and the rest. Alright, then it's settled. The non-human divine ancestor, Long Yan, and the others pondered for a moment before nodding in agreement. Although they did not want Lu Ming and the rest to enter, they would not be able to enter without the help of the white-haired elder and the rest. Now, they could only enter the Netherworld Island first. After entering, they would rely on their own abilities. As long as I get the fruit of life, killing heart, and I will recover from our injuries. At that time, let's see how you guys die. The non-human divine ancestor thought to himself. Release them. Long Yan ordered. Immediately, someone broke the seal for Long Chen, Feng Ling, and the others, and everyone regained their freedom. Lu Ming, you have saved me again. Long Chen sighed as he came to Lu Ming's side. Lu Ming. Yan Ming smiled sweetly and came to Lu Ming's side. It's good that you're fine. Lu Ming said with a smile. After a brief chat, Lu Ming found out that Long Chen and the rest were exploring some cursed lands. When they came out, they were surrounded. Elder Huang, when do we make our move? Long Yan looked at the white-haired old man. 1 year later. The white-haired old man said. This was the time that Lu Ming and the rest had set. They needed time to gather the people from the other realms. Only when more people entered the Yellow Springs Island would they have a higher chance of obtaining an opportunity. Alright, well, meet here 1 year later. Long Yan said. Then, they returned to the capital of the Netherworld Empire. Lu Ming and the rest also left the place. After that, he met up with the Titan Longhorn and the others, and they arrived at a famous mountain. This famous mountain was extremely famous in the Yellow Springs world. One only needed to ask a little to know. Then, they spread the news and gathered the people of the Heaven Realm here. At the same time, the ancestral dragon and some other experts personally went to some cursed lands to search for people from the Heaven Realm. At the same time, the evil god race also sent out a message to gather the evil god race members that were scattered all over the world to gather at the Netherworld Imperial Capital. For a time, the evil god tribe and Heaven Realm beings that were scattered all over the place gathered toward these two places. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The living beings of the Heaven Realm had basically all gathered here. Those who didn't come were mostly dead. Lu Ming did a quick calculation. There were only about 1,000 people gathered here. When they first entered, there were thousands of people. Now that their numbers had been reduced by half, it was clear how many people had died. Once the time was up, they set off for the Netherworld Imperial Capital. When they arrived, there were already thousands of people gathered outside the east gate of the capital. Some were from the evil god tribe, and some were from the Yellow Spring Empire. Let's go. The two sides gathered, and the dragon flames were the first to fly in one direction. The Netherworld Island was not in the imperial capital of the Netherworld. It was to the south of the capital. They flew for a few hours before an abyss appeared in front of them. This abyss was extremely wide, and no one knew how long it was. Boom! 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 At the bottom of the abyss, there was the sound of flowing water. Everyone looked at the side and found that the bottom of the abyss was filled with yellow water. Yellow spring water. Everyone was shocked. Could it be that the Netherworld's water all flowed here? The Netherworld Island is on the opposite side of this abyss. However, no living creature can cross this abyss. No living creature can fly over it. If they try to fly over it by force, they will fall into the abyss. If we want to pass through this abyss, we can only pass through the bridge ahead. Long Yen said. The group flew along the abyss and saw a stone bridge. The stone bridge was very large and wide, and it led to the other side of the abyss. However, as they neared, there was a constant flash of light near the stone bridge, and a figure appeared. A puppet. However, these puppets were all in human form. They wore blood-red battle armor and their eyes were filled with blood-red light. Is this a puppet of Array Dao? Lu Ming muttered. Previously, he had already learned from the white-haired elder and the others that the puppets formed on this stone bridge were formation Dao puppets that were formed by a large formation. Even if they were killed or defeated, they would reform after a period of time. Trespassers will be killed. A huge puppet shouted, its aura shaking the heavens and earth. The Martial God Realm. This puppet was at the Martial God Realm and was extremely terrifying. There were 3 other puppets that weren't any weaker than this puppet. There were a total of 4 Martial God Realm puppets. Apart from these 4, there were more than 100 puppets. They were all extremely terrifying and were all at the Heavenly Emperor Realm and above. Everyone's expression turned grave. According to the plan, the 4 of us will each hold off 1 Battle God Realm puppet. The 2 of you will not be at your peak state. You will assist one of us to kill 1 puppet with all your strength, and then help the others. Long Yen looked at the non-human divine ancestor and the ancestral dragon. The 2 martial gods of the Yellow Springs Empire and the 2 martial gods of the Yellow Springs sect could each hold off 1 martial god puppet. The forefather and the ancestral dragon worked together to help one of them defeat a martial god puppet. All right. Elder Huang nodded. Those at the void transformation stage and above, follow me and kill. Those at the void transformation stage and above, attack. Long Yen and Old Huang spoke one after the other. Then, they stepped forward and charged toward the puppets. Trespassers will be killed without mercy. A martial god puppet held a long spear and charged toward Long Yen. Boom! Boom! A deafening boom suddenly erupted in the area. The battle of the martial gods had begun. Chapter 2504 Pass. Intense battle erupts. The 4 martial gods of the Netherworld Empire and the Netherworld sect fought against the 4 martial god puppets respectively. Their attacks were very simple. There were no complicated gaudy moves. Every punch and every palm strike was very direct, but the power was terrifyingly strong. Each punch and palm had the power to destroy the world. A peak emperor would be blown up with each move. The 4 martial god puppets wore blood-red armor and each of them held a spear. They were like invincible generals, their spears piercing through the air with unparalleled killing intent. The 8 people on both sides were locked in a fierce battle. The ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor looked at each other, their eyes gleaming. In the past, it was impossible for them to join forces. But now, they could only join forces. The 2 of them moved and pounced toward the puppet that was fighting Long Yen. The 3 of them joined forces and attacked the puppet with their own abilities. The ancestral dragon, the non-human divine ancestor, was injured and not at his peak, but the 2 of them together were still equivalent to a martial god. The 3 of them joined forces and immediately suppressed the other party. No one dared to go near the war god's battlefield. The battle between Lu Ming and the rest of the puppets had also broken out. However, it was far away from the battlefield of the martial gods. These puppets also had astonishing combat strength. There were many experts, peak Heavenly Emperor, and even half a step into the martial god realm. However, the number was a little low, only around 2. The number of Lu Ming and the rest was even greater. They were from the Heaven Realm, the Evil God Tribe, the Yellow Spring Sect, and the Yellow Spring Empire. The 4 sides added together had far more puppets. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming controlled the 9 Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron and joined forces with Xia Nianqing to fight a puppet at the peak of the Heavenly Emperor realm. This kind of puppet was formed by a large array, but its entire body seemed to be made of an extremely hard metal. It was indestructible, and every move it made was powerful. It collided with the divine nine-dragon cauldron, causing it to shake continuously. Xian Yanking's body was surrounded by black light, which condensed into lotus swords. They were extremely sharp and attacked from the side, leaving sword marks on the puppet's body. Although the puppet was strong, the two of them working together could still suppress it. For example, Qingsong and the Titan longhorn beetle had almost all joined forces. They had the upper hand. Of course, this was only possible because they had joined forces. Otherwise, no one or two of them would be a match for these puppets. Bang! Bang! Not long after, a puppet was blown up, turning into energy and dissipating. The puppet that Lu Ming was fighting with was beheaded by Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming controlled the divine nine-dragon cauldron and crushed the puppet into pieces. Qingsong, the Titan longhorn beetle, and the evil god tribe had all achieved victory. One puppet after another was destroyed. A moment later, more than 2 puppets were all destroyed and the scene was cleaned up. Now, there were only 4 war god golems left. At this moment, the ancestral dragon, the non-human divine ancestor, and Long Yen had gained the absolute advantage. The martial god puppet was in a precarious situation, and its body was covered in cracks. Divine power. Dandan stood there and sighed with envy. Shen power? Lu Ming's gaze turned to Dandan. The power controlled by the martial god is divine power. It's an extremely terrifying power. Laws, great Taos, and heavenly Tao are like tofu in front of divine power. Dandan said, feeling even more envious. Not to mention him, which peak heavenly emperor wouldn't be envious? Lu Ming could tell that the power used by the ancestral dragon, the divine ancestor of the foreign tribe, and the martial god of the netherworld had nothing to do with laws or heavenly Tao. It was a terrifying and indestructible power. This power enveloped their entire bodies, making their attacks indestructible. At the same time, their defensive power was also shockingly high. This kind of power is similar to Little Qing's power, but it's many times stronger than Little Qing's. Lu Ming thought to himself. The crowd watched from afar. They had no power to interfere in the battle between the martial gods. Bang! At this moment, one of the puppet's arms shattered, and its aura began to weaken. Zulong, the non-human divine ancestor, and Long Yan's spirits were roused, and all kinds of attacks poured out like a storm. Bang! Bang! As they attacked, the puppet's body kept exploding. With a loud boom, it exploded and turned into waves of energy that dissipated. As the puppet was destroyed, the outcome was already decided. The 3 of them joined forces to attack another martial god puppet. Together with the other puppet, they were 4 against 1. This time, it didn't take long for the puppet to be destroyed. Just like that, they attacked one martial god puppet at a time and destroyed them one by one. After 10 minutes or so, the remaining martial god puppets were all destroyed. Buzz! Buzz! As soon as all the martial god puppets were destroyed, the ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor returned to their respective forces and stood guard against each other. Alright, you can cross the bridge. We from the Yellow Springs world can't cross. Long Yen said and retreated to the side with the people of the Yellow Spring Empire. The people of the Yellow Springs sect also retreated to the side. Ancestral dragon, let's have a showdown after crossing the bridge. The non-human divine ancestor looked at the ancestral dragon. Just what I wanted. The ancestral dragon said. In the next moment, both sides moved, rushing towards the stone bridge. The stone bridge was very wide, and the people from both sides each took one side. They looked at each other as they charged towards the other side of the stone bridge. This stone bridge was really long. It was thousands of miles long, which showed how wide the abyss was. However, to them, a distance of several thousand miles could be crossed in the blink of an eye. Soon, they had crossed the stone bridge. On the other side of the stone bridge was a hilly area that stretched as far as the eye could see. Kill! The ancestral dragon roared and pounced toward the non-human divine ancestor. Fight! The non-human divine ancestor's fighting spirit soared as he fought with the ancestral dragon. Kill! Kill! The evil god race and the living beings of the heaven realm were also filled with killing intent. They turned into streaks of rainbow light and collided with each other. Boom! Boom! The entire region was boiling. The space was torn apart and terrifying energy spread in all directions. Roar! Qingtsung turned into a 9-headed golden lion. The 9 heads roared and pounced on Xiang Duolei. The Titan longhorn beetle also transformed into its true form. Its horns were like battle blades as it fought a peak heavenly emperor of the evil god tribe. In addition, the 9 lives devilish silkworm and the others were also fighting against the other side's experts. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9 dragon cauldron and swung it continuously, blowing up a 6-star celestial arch of the evil god tribe. Lu Ming, die! A figure suddenly charged toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. This was a member of the royal family of the evil god tribe. His purple hair was like a waterfall, and he had an overbearing aura. He gave Lu Ming an extremely strong sense of pressure. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9 dragon cauldron and blasted it at the man. Boom! The man struck out with his palm and collided with the divine 9 dragon cauldron. Buzz! The divine 9 dragon cauldron shook violently and was thrown backward. Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surging toward him. His body shook violently and he was forced to retreat. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He's an invincible expert who's half a step into the martial god realm. Lu Ming was shocked. Chapter 2505. The ancestor of Technique's disciple existences who were half a step into the martial god realm were known as demigods and invincible powerhouses. As long as the martial god did not appear, they would be invincible. Such people were extremely rare. Each one of them was terrifyingly powerful. The Primal Chaos Emperor, Hunyuan Sek Master, and Undying Emperor were all such people. There wouldn't be too many in the entire heaven realm or the evil god realm. Initially, Lu Ming had thought that this time around, people of such a level would not enter Netherworld Mountain. Instead, they would stay outside to guard against the enemy. He did not expect that the evil god tribe would bring people of such a level in. At this moment, they suddenly launched an attack and wanted to kill Lu Ming. Kill! The evil god tribe member's killing intent was cold, and his aura was as deep as the ocean. He took a few steps forward and charged toward Lu Ming, sending out a few terrifying palm prints. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. He activated the power of the Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron to the extreme. Whoosh! Whoosh! Xian Yanqing had also arrived. Endless black lotus sword chi gathered into 3 beams and slashed toward the evil god demigod. The attacks from both sides collided, and a violent explosion occurred in the area. The divine 9 dragon cauldron shook violently. Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surging towards him. His body flew out and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Fortunately, his life force was extremely tenacious. If it were anyone else, they would have been more seriously injured. Xian Yanqing was slightly better off than Lu Ming, but he also kept retreating, his face pale. Even when the two of them joined forces, they were still no match for the other. Demigods were too powerful. They were known to be invincible, and that wasn't just for show. Even 2 peak heavenly emperors wouldn't be a match for a half-god. What? The demigod of the evil god race looked at Xian Yanqing in shock. He did not expect that there would be such a young powerhouse in the heaven realm other than Lu Ming. Such a character had never appeared in the evil god tribe since ancient times. Kill. The more talented he was, the more he had to be killed. The demigod of the evil god race had his purple hair flying in the wind. His aura was at its peak as he glared at Lu Ming and charged toward him. Compared to Xian Yanqing, he wanted to kill Lu Ming more. This was because the divine ancestor of the non-human race had ordered that Lu Ming must be eliminated if there was a chance. A purple combat sword formed in his hand. The sword chi shot up into the sky and was extremely terrifying. As a half-god, you're really shameless to deal with a junior. Your opponent is me. Die. A cold voice rang out, and countless bolts of lightning shot toward the demigod of the evil god race like thunder dragons. Every bolt of lightning gave off a heart-palpitating aura. Even with Lu Ming's current cultivation level, he could feel a strong sense of danger. The evil god race demigod's expression changed as well. He turned his purple sword around and slashed out one shocking sword light after another, clashing with the lightning and sending out a terrifying force. In the end, the sword chi and the lightning both disappeared. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. One of them was a human, wearing a lightning armor with bolts of lightning dancing on it. This person was tall and slender. He looked to be around 30 years old. Of course, this was only on the surface. In reality, he might have lived for countless years. Tianlei, it's you. I didn't expect you to come in here, he said. The eyes of the evil god race's demigod turned cold. Heavenly lightning? Could it be the Heavenly Thunder Emperor? Lu Ming was slightly shocked. He had stayed in the heaven realm for so many years, so he had more or less heard of some of the top experts. Supreme Emperor Sky Thunder was also known as a Supreme Emperor. Without a doubt, he was in existence on par with the Chaos Supreme Emperor and the Undying Supreme Emperor. A demigod and an unrivaled expert. Furthermore, he had another identity, and that was the disciple of the ancestor of technique. Who was the ancestor of technique? He was a peerless expert who had created the nomological cultivation system at the end of the primordial era. He was a shockingly talented and rare peerless figure. Such a person was simply too amazing. With his own strength, he had created a law system and made it so strong that it surpassed many ancient cultivation systems. However, the ancestor of technique suddenly disappeared at the end of the immemorial era. No one knew where he went. Therefore, when the evil god tribe invaded the heaven realm in the ancient times, the ancestor of technique did not appear. Heavenly Thunder Emperor was one of the ancestor of technique's disciples, and his background was not to be underestimated. If you can come in, I can naturally come in as well. We haven't fought for many years, so let's fight again today. Heavenly Thunder Emperor was extremely powerful. His entire body was covered in lightning, and he turned into a bolt of lightning that charged toward the demigod of the evil god race. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. Meanwhile, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing attacked the other evil god races. In the middle of the battle, Lu Ming suddenly realized that the area was covered in fog. Fog was constantly rising from the ground. Boom! Lu Ming controlled the divine nine-dragon cauldron and blasted it toward one of the evil god tribe members. He was about to hit the other party, but for some reason, he suddenly missed. The other party's figure disappeared in an instant. The other party didn't have the time to retreat. It was as if the space between them had suddenly been pulled apart. He wasn't the only one. The others at the scene also noticed the abnormality because they had already calculated the distance when they attacked. However, when they attacked, they realized that the distance between them and the enemy had increased in an instant. At this moment, the fog was getting thicker and thicker, blocking his vision. Their line of sight was constantly shortening. Everyone stopped and didn't make a move. They looked around in surprise. Lu Ming suddenly realized that the people who were further away from him were completely shrouded in fog. He could not see their figures at all. Gather! Zhu Long shouted and called the heaven realm people to gather. Assemble! The non-human divine ancestor also called out. Buzz! Whoosh! The two sides charged toward the ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor. However, as they rushed out, they realized that the ancestral dragon or the divine ancestor was getting further and further away from them. Then, they disappeared before their eyes. Senior! Lu Ming rushed over, but he did not discover anything. The ancestor dragon had disappeared. Lu Ming turned around and realized that even more people had disappeared. Long Chen, Huang Ling, Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and the others had all disappeared from Lu Ming's sight. As for Xian Yanqing, he was the closest to Lu Ming. At this moment, his figure was also fading. Little Qin, Lu Ming, the two of them charged at each other, but it was very strange. The two of them weren't far from each other. In the past, they would have reached each other in a single step. However, no matter how hard they tried, they realized that their figures were getting fainter and fainter. Eventually, they completely disappeared from sight. Little Qin, Lu Ming shouted and rushed to the place where Xian Yanqing had been standing. However, he did not find anything and did not hear any response. Everyone disappeared just like that. Other than the thick fog, Lu Ming was the only one left in the world. There should be a large array here that separated everyone. Lu Ming pondered. This should be the most likely possibility. Chapter 2506 Danger on Yellow Spring Sea. Degree. Looking around, all he could see was white fog, and his vision was at least 2 meters. 2 meters away, everything was in a daze. Nothing could be seen. At the same time, the world was completely silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Lu Ming focused his attention and paid attention to his surroundings. He did not dare to be careless. No one knew what kind of danger they would face next. Lu Ming waited for a moment but realized that there was no movement at all. Other than the thick fog and the emptiness, there was nothing unusual. After a moment, Lu Ming decided to take action. He could not just wait here. Based on his senses, Lu Ming identified the direction of the abyss and walked in the opposite direction. Lu Ming's speed was not fast. He maintained a constant speed as he advanced. In front of him was a hilly area. Lu Ming had been walking for more than 10 days. He had no idea how far he had covered. During this period of time, there were no abnormalities, nothing attacked him, and he did not encounter any danger. Walala. At this moment, the sound of water flowing came from the front. Lu Ming was in high spirits. For more than 10 days, they had to move forward in a silent fog with a vision of less than 2 meters. This feeling was very uncomfortable. If it were an ordinary person, they would have gone crazy. However, cultivators were determined. A dozen days was nothing, but it was not a good time either. Lu Ming was overjoyed to hear the voice. Lu Ming strode forward. A moment later, there was light in front of him. Lu Ming's vision suddenly widened. There was no fog in front of him. What he saw was an ocean, a boundless ocean. Lu Ming was now on a beach. This seawater, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed when he saw the seawater. This was because the seawater here was yellow. It was clearly the water of the yellow spring. So much yellow spring water. Could it be that all the yellow spring water is flowing here? Lu Ming was extremely surprised. Standing on the beach and looking out, one could see the islands in the ocean. Some of the islands were very close to Lu Ming and they looked like small black dots. Then, Lu Ming saw a small boat on the beach. The small boat looked like it was made of wood, but it was completely fine as it floated on the yellow springs water. This cursed land is called Netherworld Island. Could it be a small island in this ocean, and I have to take this small boat to get to it? Lu Ming pondered. The next moment, a large weapon appeared in Lu Ming's hand and he threw it out. Whoosh! Lu Ming's strength was so great that the emperor weapon flew out like a bolt of lightning. However, when the emperor-level weapon flew into the Yellow Spring Sea, it seemed to encounter a strong resistance and slowed down. At the same time, there seemed to be a force of attraction in the Yellow Spring Sea, and the emperor-level weapon fell into the sea and disappeared. Lu Ming shook his head with a bitter smile. Indeed, flying was not feasible. He could only take this small boat. However, Lu Ming did not board the ship and set out to sea immediately. Instead, he searched around the area, hoping to find the others. Unfortunately, he didn't find anything. It was as if he was the only one left in the world. I guess everyone's experience is similar to mine. They should all see a small boat and take it out to sea. I believe we'll meet again when we reach the Yellow Springs Island. Lu Ming pondered and then jumped onto the small boat without any hesitation. With a burst of energy, the small boat sailed out like an arrow. Let's go to the nearest island first. Lu Ming headed to the nearest island. It didn't seem to be very far from the island, but when they rushed over, they realized that it was really very far away. The main thing was that the water here was all netherworld water. He couldn't speed up the boat, so it took more than an hour to sail a small distance. Lu Ming did not notice that not far away from him, a figure had suddenly emerged from the sea. The upper body of this figure was that of a human, while the lower body was that of a snake. This was a Naga. However, he could actually survive in the netherworld water. If Lu Ming and the rest saw this, they would definitely be shocked. He, has the Myriad tribulation passed again? It's been a long time since I've exercised my muscles and bones. I hope I won't be disappointed. The Naga sneered before diving into the sea and disappearing. Lu Ming continued to steer the boat forward. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He felt a sense of danger. Without thinking, Lu Ming turned around and threw a punch behind him. A terrifying fist force pierced through the void and blasted out. Whoosh! A figure rushed out from the sea behind him. It was the Serpent Man, and his entire body glowed. He condensed a long spear and thrust it at Lu Ming. It was hit by Lu Ming's fist force and exploded with a bang. The powerful force carried Lu Ming and the small boat and retreated rapidly. Serpent Man? It's actually coming out from the Yellow Spring. Lu Ming was shocked. Kid, your reaction is not bad. The Serpent Man sneered, his narrow eyes filled with excitement. Who are you? Lu Ming asked. If you want to know, you have to defeat me first. The Serpent Man said coldly. That's good, then I'll defeat you first. Lu Ming said. With a thought, the Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron appeared. However, as soon as the Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron appeared, it seemed to be suppressed by a powerful force and shrank rapidly. Then, it turned into a ray of light and flew into the space between his eyebrows, disappearing. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Haha, you still want to use treasures against me? Let me tell you, in this place, you can't use any treasures. You can only rely on your own strength. Do you understand? The Serpent Man laughed. I can still defeat you without any treasures. Lu Ming maneuvered the small boat and charged toward the human-snake hybrid. At the same time, a purple-gold radiance was emitted from Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming used the way of domination and condensed a purple-gold spear. At the same time, he burst out with his physical strength. Lu Ming used all his strength as soon as he attacked. He swept his spear and the purple-gold spear enlarged rapidly, sweeping toward the Naga. This is the path of a hegemon. How is this possible? At this moment, the human-snake hybrid was completely stunned. He stared at Lu Ming with his eyes wide open. He had a very shocked expression on his face and had completely forgotten to defend himself. Boom! Lu Ming's spear struck the Serpent Man's body. The Serpent Man's body exploded, turning into energy and disappearing. It's not the main body, but a projection. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. At the same time, he was curious and surprised. This was because the Serpent Man had just mentioned the Tao of Domination. The Serpent Men actually knew about the Tao of Domination? Lu Ming was even more puzzled. Back then, the ancestral dragon had also said that this was the power of a ruler. Now, this Serpent Man had also said that this was the way of a ruler. Most importantly, the name of this power was given by Lu Ming himself. This was because this power had a domineering aura. It seemed that there were other people in the world who could control this power, and they were also called this. Chapter 2507 First Island. There's a statue here in the Cursed Lands, and it's filled with sovereign will. And yet, this Naga here recognized my Tao of sovereign with a single glance, and was so shocked. What's the connection between all of this? Lu Ming kept thinking, and many thoughts flashed through his mind. After a while, Lu Ming shook his head. He could not figure it out and decided not to think about it anymore. Lu Ming continued to steer the boat and headed for the nearest island. At this moment, on the island that Lu Ming was going to, there was a human-snake hybrid who was shouting and laughing excitedly. Ha ha ha, the way of the Dominator, it's actually the way of the Dominator. I thought that it would be a great fortune to have someone who had the hope of comprehending the way of the Dominator this time, but someone who has already comprehended the way of the Dominator has come. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect this, I didn't expect this. Could it be that the heavens didn't want us to die? No, I have to tell the others about this. The human-snake hybrid was dancing with excitement. It was the human-snake hybrid who had attacked Lu Ming previously. After mumbling to himself for a while, the serpent man's body began to glow. Then, another serpent man appeared and rushed out. He plunged into the yellow spring sea and disappeared. Not long after, the projection of the serpent man appeared on another island and met up with the other living beings. Why did you call us over in such a hurry? One was covered in flames and seemed to be made of magma. Big discovery, big discovery. The Myriad tribulation has passed again. The living beings from the outside have come in again. The Naga shouted. Nonsense, do you think we don't know? Many people have already set off to take the test, and some have even landed on some islands. The magma-like creature said in disdain. I'm not talking about that. Did you know that I just found a human from the foreign tribe who has mastered the way of domination? The way of domination. Ha ha ha. The serpent man laughed excitedly. The entire scene fell silent. The other living beings stared at the serpent man in shock, and their breathing began to become heavy. You. What did you just say? You say. Someone has mastered the Tao of a ruler? A humanoid creature with a pair of transparent wings opened its mouth and was tongue-tied, looking extremely excited. Yes, yes, it's absolutely true. There's no mistake. The Naga nodded. Ha ha ha, good, great, great. We have hope. Ha ha ha. Following that, the few living beings began to laugh madly, as if they had gone mad. No, I have to report this to the Lord. Wait for me. I'm going to report this to the Lord and let him make a decision. The humanoid creature with the transparent wings said. Go, quickly go. The others urged. Then, the winged humanoid creature soared into the sky and left, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The others waited patiently. They didn't have to wait too long before the human-shaped creature with transparent wings returned. How is it? What did Darren say? The others quickly asked. Master said to adjust the assessment method for that person. The specific assessment method is like this. The creature with the transparent wings explained the test method. It's that difficult? The others stared at each other. His Excellency said that this is not difficult. If he can't even pass this, then there is no hope for us. If he passes, then there is a chance to help us complete that task. The winged being said. What if he doesn't pass? The others asked. Then kill them. The winged being's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. This, all right. The others sighed and left one after another, starting to set up. Of course, Lu Ming did not know that there were some difficulties waiting for him in front. He steered the small boat and kept moving forward. Finally, a few hours later, he arrived at the nearest island. The island wasn't big, but it was lush and had some vegetation growing on it. Lu Ming leaped onto the island. When Lu Ming leaped onto the island, the small boat dissipated with a bang and disappeared. Lu Ming frowned slightly. It seemed that he could only move forward and not backward. Without thinking much, Lu Ming walked toward the depths of the island. Whoosh! Lu Ming had not gone far when he suddenly heard a sharp sound behind him. A sharp light was aimed at Lu Ming's back. Without thinking, a purple gold spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He swept it across and blocked the attack behind him. Boom! There was a loud boom and Lu Ming's figure drifted backward slightly. At the same time, he saw a figure drifting backward. You again. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. It was that human-snake hybrid again. However, this time, Lu Ming could tell that the other party had come in person. Kid, that was just my projection. The serpent man sneered. Who the hell are you? Also, how did you learn about my Tao of domination? Lu Ming asked a few questions in succession. If you want to know, you have to beat me first. The human-snake hybrid sneered. With a flick of his body, he charged toward Lu Ming again. Whoosh! The long spear in the Naga's hand was as fast as lightning, and its power was shocking. Lu Ming exerted all his strength, his physical body and the Tao of domination. His long spear trembled as he attacked the serpent man. The two of them exchanged dozens of moves in a flash, and it was difficult to determine the winner. His strength is about the same as mine. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He realized that the Naga's strength was almost the same as his. It couldn't be such a coincidence, unless the other party had intentionally suppressed his strength to the same level as him. Buzz! All of a sudden, the human-snake hybrid's attack changed. The long spear turned into hundreds of phantoms and stabbed toward Lu Ming. It was hard to see the real and the fake. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. He was highly focused and his figure retreated continuously. All he could see were the illusionary images of the long spears. All of a sudden, Lu Ming moved. He only thrust his spear. This spear did not stab at any of the spear's shadows but at a void. Bang! When Lu Ming stabbed at the void, there was a loud boom. A long spear suddenly appeared in the void, while the other illusionary spears disappeared without a trace. Kid, your battle awareness is not bad. However, this is far from enough. Again. The Naga's eyes brightened slightly, and then he launched another attack. His figure flickered and he attacked Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. This time, his attack was even stranger, trickier, and more unpredictable. For a moment, Lu Ming was forced to retreat. The other party's strength was similar to Lu Ming's, but his attack method was more mysterious than Lu Ming's. He could often catch Lu Ming off guard. I'm going to lose just because we have the same strength? I want. Lu Ming roared in his heart. He became more and more focused and entered a mysterious mode. It was as if everything in the world was under his control. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming's long spear pierced out continuously. Each spear was able to block the other party's attack. Bang! Bang! In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had exchanged more than 100 moves with the other party. Lu Ming had already completely adapted to the other party's attack method. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.